Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Grappler Union podcast. Javier Palomo alongside Anthony Zito. Our guest today is Alex Viana. Alex is a brown belt in Jiu Jitsu. Enjoy.
I need the 6 minutes. That's what happens in that 6 minutes.
You told me, using any technique that works, never to limit myself to one style. Open mind.
We're not here to take part. We're here to take over.
In order to become more peaceful, in order for you to become better and strategize your life.
All right, we're live. Alex, welcome back.
Good to be back.
It's a long time. Been a long time.
This is unique, right? We've never had a guest on and then be like, you know what, we like that guy. Let's bring him right back.
You guys have never been so lazy that you couldn't even leave the room to find the next guest.
Sure.
No, to be fair, this was actually spurred on because after we had you and Andre and Gabriel in, we got into a bit of a conversation afterwards, and it was like,
fuck, that's another podcast.
yes, damn it, we should have recorded that. Why didn't we record that?
That's how it goes. I mean, if people can understand, when we turn the mics off, it happens at every podcast.
Immediately start doing blow. Which is weird because it's a mic. I don't know why I didn't just do it while we're on the air.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Gabriel's stories after the podcast were like gold. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Why did you not bring that up on the podcast? But I understand some things.
I think he was a little nervous.
He was definitely a little nervous. But
actually, I talked to him about that. He kept when we were going back and forth and whatnot. He's like, "Oh, I've got a thing I want to talk about." But then he had to translate it in his head from Portuguese to English, and he was just waiting for the moment to jump in. And by the time he got done translating and whatnot, he couldn't find the timing, the rhythm to jump in. I'm like, I guess it's just like jiu-jitsu that way. If you think about it too long,
right,
the moment passes.
Exactly.
It's tough being on the spot like that because his English is very good.
I didn't have any problems understanding him at all.
Yeah, but I think he's when he's teaching, he's a lot more fun and he can be a little bit more loose and he's a little more comfortable making small mistakes to get his get his point across. I think being on the mic, he was just he's saying afterwards I just got a little nervous.
Right.
Yeah, that's okay.
And then I think most of the guests they sit there and they're in the car ride home or whatever and they're like, oh, I should have said this.
Right.
Why didn't I say that? Right. That's my best story ever. Right. I didn't think to bring it up.
Yeah, happens all the time.
Yeah.
And then some things they can't say on there. They're a little nervous about, but they tell us afterwards.
Do you guys ever edit these? Is there ever things where you're ever just we'll edit that out, man. Don't worry. But then you're just, no.
We've had very few requests
Very
ever.
few.
Yeah,
very few. But, it's always been really simple to edit stuff out if we needed to.
Zito says this as someone who doesn't actually have to edit it.
No.
He just points at an employee and says, "You
do this.
Find this in the audio and remove it."
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So is this someone who works at your company? This is one of his.
One of his jobs.
Is this a side job, or is this part of his main responsibility? Is this also you have to help your boss in his side gig and mow his lawn?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, it's okay. He likes doing it. I think he likes doing it.
He might secretly hate it.
He might hate
As
it.
you're saying this, I've never actually asked
Right.
him.
Yeah.
Zito's as his boss, his opinion really doesn't matter.
I have
to
decided
me.
he enjoys doing this.
Right.
Yeah, so it was good. It was a fun open mat today.
It was good.
I'm glad that Javi came to Soul Fighters.
Yeah,
It was a good time.
After the last podcast, Mineko was like, "Hey, you got to come down sometime."
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how long. Actually, how long is he?
July 2nd he leaves.
Yeah. So I definitely wanted to get down there before he was. That's Gabriel, not Mineko. Mineko's actually in Asia right now, right?
Japan.
Yeah, he just fought
Tokyo, isn't it? That's where
I think so, yeah.
the Asian Open.
He did 2 different tournaments.
Oh, did you too?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I know
He won gold yesterday.
Yes, in his weight.
in his weight.
In a weight. I
In
think he
a
did
weight.
heavyweight or something.
And then today he's doing something at some other Asian Open.
Is it, yeah.
Super. I don't know. He beat the guy that was in second place. The guy he wanted to beat, he beat him.
Right.
The guy
That's
going
all that
for
matters,
first.
right?
That's all he wanted to do, really.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Right.
He's like, I'm coming in first place.
Right.
Good luck. Good luck beating me. So that's always fun.
Right. So yeah, didn't get to train with him, but trained with pretty much Zito handpicked most of my roles. He's like, I want you to go with this guy, and I just a murderer's row, one after another.
Yeah.
But like a murderer's row of small people. He didn't like set like
the most
some
part, yeah,
giants.
yeah,
We
no,
actually
he-
don't have too many huge dudes, but like
No,
yeah.
yeah.
What happened to I think he was a purple belt. He was a really big guy from Brazil. I can't think of his name. I rolled with him the last time we did like I came by for like a normal open. That was probably last year. He was pretty excellent, actually.
Neto.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
He was a fairly large fellow,
Yes,
right?
he
I'm
was-
not going crazy.
He was
here?
like 18 years old, and he was like already 6 something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Big guy.
Freaking giants.
He's in Brazil again.
Oh, okay.
He went back to Brazil. They come and then they go back.
Right.
You know, visa ends or whatever.
Yeah, but you got to go roll with Gabriel, roll with Hafina.
Yeah, Gabriel, for the record, does feel like he's a very, very, very large person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic pressure.
Yeah.
I was telling Zito before. So just by happenstance, this is just like the weirdest thing ever for me. Way back when, like probably a dozen-ish years ago.
I thought you were going to be like, 10:30.
Right. Yeah. 10:30 last night. No. So one of the guys at my judo club taught me at the time I'd never seen anyone else do it before, a fairly unique counter to when somebody answers the phone in an arm triangle. And it's just a really cool shoulder lock, and I've been doing it for years as like, exactly that one. But like nobody has ever, other than him, ever in my life hit that move on me. Okay, I know it works because I've done it, but no one's ever done it to me other than the guy that showed it to me. Okay, so just last night, I was showing that exact move, that exact move at my class in Barrington. I roll with Gabriel. He gets me in an arm triangle. Boom! Hits me with the move. I'm like, what the? Like, what were the odds that the exact move that I was showing last night is what he taps me with? Yeah, it was beautiful. I was caught completely unawares. I'm like, I'm fine. Oh God, he knows that.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't he know that? Right.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
like-
of course. I mean,
course,
but
right?
but yeah.
Oh, it's cool.
I've rolled with plenty of guys where I've been
Yeah.
able to just kind of stall it out and work and relax there.
Sure.
And he was like, no, we're getting this over with right now.
What did we say last week? He's been a black belt for 19 years, something like that.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I had to roll with him to do it today, and he was like, he'll talk to me a lot when we're rolling, and he was just like,
Does he laugh? Does he laugh at you? He's like,
I mean, let's
pretty much.
okay. All right, fine. If you want to put it there, he talks shit to me when we're rolling. Yeah. In Portuguese, he laughs
all in
a lot.
Portuguese.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And
there
so
we
he
go.
was
He
just
does
like,
the same thing to me. He'll start laughing.
Does he talk shit to you in Portuguese?
No, he says in English.
Okay. That'd be way better.
No, right?
Yeah, like everyone around you that understands is laughing their ass off, and you're
Right.
just like, I don't know what he's
I don't
saying
know what
at
he's
all.
and so like he was just like, oh, you're tired, and I was like, no, like you're just like, I'm like kind of like hypnotized by your jiu-jitsu, where I'm like, I'm still sitting there, I was like, man, how did he, like, that was really smart, like what did he do there? And he was
Right.
like, oh yeah, and like I could get it. And like he was saying actually likes that. He feels like that people who do jiu-jitsu now are much more like thoughtful about it, like they don't just like spaz out.
Yeah.
Because saying, I was like, yeah, like I could spaz out, but like you're like, we're already like, you've already gotten the pass, like you're already settled into like side control. And I'm trying to remember like, oh, okay. And then like, how did he do that? Like, how did he, because he's got that jiu-jitsu style, I feel like, where he just like, he's kind of like moving around a little bit, and then he sees an opening, just like a wedge, and he just like drives in,
Yeah.
and then he just like sticks there until you start moving, and he finds the next little advantage and like just like wedges in. And it's like never super explosive, but just like he doesn't, if you like lose a quarter inch at a time, but you never get it back.
Right.
Right. That's it. That was an excellent description of how it felt. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, good podcast, guys. It was great.
Yeah. Later.
See you later. Yeah, that was very good. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun today. I was feeling a little, because this is the first day I took my brace off of my thumb, so I was feeling a little tentative, like keeping my hands out there. But it worked out. Worked out good. Your guy that you brought with you,
Brian?
he was a beast.
Yeah, he is.
I called him the roll, and after he did some kind of like, he was really giving me a hard time. I was trying not to let him pass or mount me, and he kept just holding my legs, keeping his pressure so low, his hips so low, and then I just had my arm up here, and he just went for this like, I don't know, shoulder lock of some sort, and it was like, whoa, tap, please, thank you, stop the madness. But
Yeah,
it's great pressure. Whew, great pressure. And then after I rolled, and Andrew, He goes like, dude, I can't believe you called that guy out. He's big. I'm like, what do you mean called him out? I just asked him if he wanted to roll. I wasn't like, yo, you me, now, let's go. God, this one's going. We're going down right now. I didn't call him out. I said, hey man, you want to roll? I was being polite.
Andrew, don't make it weird, man.
Don't make it weird, dude.
He's
like, I don't know, dude.
This shit's already weird enough. Like, don't.
Andrew always makes it weird.
We had a good conversation too, him and I. So
did you roll with him?
Yeah.
Did you footlock him?
I don't know. Did I?
I don't know.
You'll have to ask him.
He definitely knows.
Yeah. Andrew's trying to look for footlocks. He's trying to become aware of when people footlock him.
That's part of our conversation. Yes.
Good. Yes, that's his whole thing. He's got to learn. He's got to learn them footlocks.
Everyone's got to learn them.
Yeah.
I'm like, why you? I don't think I actually said this, but I always think it. At least I'm like, when somebody who's a brown belt comes up to me and it's like, yeah, I'm working on my foot. I'm like, why are you working on this now?
Yeah.
Like, why did you wait until you're actually in the category where you have to really, really worry about it? Like,
Right.
get good at it at blue belt, purple belt, whatever, white belt even. Get good at it. Don't use it until you're allowed to, obviously.
Right.
But
Still rep it, right.
Yeah, it's way better to, like, I don't want to get to a division, have the rules change on me, and then go against somebody who's like well practiced at that thing, and it's like, oh yeah, I learned this last week.
And even if you don't actually know how to do the technique, understand the position and know how to at least understand what that guy's trying to do to you.
Right, defensively.
Yeah. You can defensively ward off foot attacks, yet you don't know actually how to do a footlock, but you can get away from that position to then work your own game, then you're okay.
Right.
But to not even know defensively what to do, you're way behind.
Right.
Cool guys, personally attacked. Awesome.
I'm sorry.
I mean, sorry. That wasn't directed just at you.
Well, you phrased this as a question, like, why would you do that? Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, yeah, I mean, I feel like that's kind of where my lock game is with knee bars and toe holds, right? I kind of waited till it was brown belt. I was like, all right, well, now I got to learn these. And I mean, yeah, like at least learn the defense and like, like Rafinha is another Brazilian black belt who trains
he was
at
excellent.
our gym. Yeah. And he's after it and like, he gets me with a bunch of them, but he also then started showing me how to defend and like, I don't know, like I think you, at least I feel like this is how we do it at our school is like, you kind of work the rules that are at your belt level because like you're kind of learning. It's a different game, right? Like you can get away with like good example for me and my size. Like you can get away with that berimbolo with that foot a little looser because they can't get that toe hold and like you have to adjust, but like you kind of develop that style that works at purple belt and then you got to make the adjustments at black belt. And I don't know. I don't feel that they're super hard. Like you're not going to become like a great foot collector if you wait till then. But I don't know. You do make a good point, though. It's like, yeah, if you started this sooner, you would
defend it better.
You defend it better, but like I think it's just the culture. Like the other purple belts are going to be like, bro, why? Oh, we're doing toe holds. Like you didn't. That's like not. Yeah,
right. Like when obviously whatever rules at whatever academy I follow them. But whenever I have the option, I teach that stuff to white belts, blue belts, purple belts. So that and it's just like, hey, you can't do this in competition.
Right.
But you can learn it now, learn the defenses, understand the position, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And that goes for pretty much anything, but I feel like only footlocks and whatnot have that kind of restriction typically. Like there's no point where I'm gonna be like, okay guys, we're doing twisters today in the gi, and you will never be allowed to do these, but I want you to get good at them right now in the gi specifically, just because.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think, even beyond, toe hold and knee bar, I mean, you've got calf slicers. There's so much to do.
Well, those are the slicers, knee bars, and toe holds are the big things that come online at brown belt.
Right. But do you know calf slicers? Do you know
bicep slicers?
Like,
bicep slicers.
So I guess here's the distinction, right? Like, because yes, I know these things. Right. Like, can I reliably hit them? Like, no. Can I like walk you through what you would need to do to get like a calf? Like, when the thing where you're coming up on instead of shaking the back, like the kind
like
of
the bear trap
in there.
sour.
Yeah. What was it called?
I think a lot of guys call that the bear trap.
The bear trap, right? Like sure, like I know how to do that, right? I could show you how to do that. Like, do I ever hit it while rolling? Like, no. Mm-hmm. But like what you're saying, like, I guess how much time do you put into that stuff? Because like you can show someone this stuff. Like I have certainly been shown a toe hold before brown belt, been shown a knee bar. But like how much do you have to be like doing that while rolling and like seeing it, refreshing it to actually like get good at it. You know,
I think a class a week would be good.
That's a lot.
One class
Well,
a week.
so-
of just lower body. I appreciated it when I was doing it.
When you're doing it, yeah. I think so. This is me just kind of spitballing the idea here. So not like I don't run this way per se, but I think it matters more if you're going to do different competition formats as well. So like the guys that I work with that they do Fuji, Naga, grappling games, whatever, where it's different rule sets and they're able to do more, I definitely put a higher priority on them learning that stuff. And the guys that I know that are only going to do IBJJF, like I'll show it to them, but I'm still going to focus on the stuff that's legal in their division, leading like a blue belt. I'm going to focus on like the straight foot lock. Okay. Whereas, like a purple belt with a couple of stripes on his belt, it's like, okay, like I've babied you enough. Like now it's time. Yeah.
Do you say that?
Yeah.
Like at the start of the roll is like, now it's time.
Oh, yeah. No,
Today's the day. My favorite pre-roll moment is I was rolling in Vegas at Sergio Penna's academy. He's a coral belt, so like a sixth or like 7th degree black belt, which I've never seen before. And I rolled with like some blue belts. I think it was a purple belt at the time, purple belt. Then he paired me with a black belt about my size. And we slap hands. And they're about to grip up, and he goes, there's no rules here, right? And I was like, all right, man, cool. And then he looked at me, he's like, no, I'm serious. There are no rules here. And I was like, what? You mean like we can like heel hook in the gi and stuff? And he's like, there are no rules here. I just like, externally, I was like, oh man, cool. But internally, I was
screaming.
These are 10-minute rounds. I was like,
oh shit,
I'm going to die. And I did, in fact, actually die. This is what the afterlife is like.
Wow,
like
that's
just,
cool.
I mean,
Fantastic.
he neck cranked me so many times that Sergio kind of like gave him like the
right. You've killed him enough
it
with
was
one
like,
move.
And he said like, don't do that one anymore. He doesn't know how to defend. And I was just like, this is, I'm not a good person, right? Like, yeah, like this is okay. I deserve this. Right. Keep going. Yeah.
wow.
So now let's rewind that, Harris. Like, did you feel that was a good learning experience though, or were you like, this is terrible and I never want to do this again?
I learned that I'm a bad person, right?
Okay,
like fundamentally.
I just assume I'm a bad person starting off, so that's fine.
I mean, sure. Like I don't think it was a bad experience, right? Like no one was being a dick about it, right? Like, it wasn't like there was no intent to harm. There was no like you are. It wasn't like a hazing, right? It wasn't like oh, you're from another gym, we're gonna fuck you up, or if it was like I didn't feel that, right? Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, like, yeah, that stuff's fine. I'm cool seeing other styles, and like, I joke about like being super butthurt, but like, I get it. Like, if you do like a neck crank off of a guillotine or like a lot of heel hooks, and like I'm not going to be good at that, and that's fine. And like seeing that other stuff, I don't think is detrimental. I think it's kind of up to you how much you want to like diversify versus like be very specific. Like one of the reasons I train at Monecos is like, because it's very gi sport, IBJJF specific, which is not better or worse, but like those tend to be the competitions I do, and actually I really like that rule set, and so like that's one of the main reasons that I train there is like we will do double guard pull drills and we will do berimbolo drills, and like we won't do like heel hooks in no gi, and like we don't do a lot of no gi, and that's not like better or worse. It's just that tends to be the rule style I compete in. Like I put the IBJJFs for me personally, like pretty high up. Like the Chicago Opens are kind of the only tournaments I've been doing since I've been in Chicago, and so like that just aligns, but not better. And I certainly like seeing other stuff. Like I don't want to just be like I have no idea what a heel hook is. Like why I think you're fucking up that straight ankle lock, dude. Let me show you how to do that. Right?
That'd be priceless. Yeah. Interesting. So speaking of interesting, though, you happen to have a pretty interesting point of view on all this stuff, at least relative to like Zito and myself, because you've got a different kind of background actually with all of this. So let me make sure I'm not screwing this up.
Oh, you mean because I'm a math major?
Yeah, that's my main focus of that. Yeah. I didn't know that at all, for the record. No, but you were born in Brazil, raised here?
I was born in Brazil. I was born in Rio de Janeiro, right in front of Maracanã soccer stadium, and I moved here when I was 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
So raised in America pretty much your whole life, but you go back frequently, or
more frequently as I get older. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of a more interesting, or a little bit more unusual than some other, like, because what tends to happen if you're an immigrant, like you'll kind of like, especially when you move from year 3, you'll kind of just be like raised straight up American. or some people like go back and forth all the time, and they're like, especially if you grow up in like an immigrant community, like there's a big Brazilian communities like Miami, surprisingly like Boston and Portsmouth, Rhode Island.
Wait, Boston?
Like I cannot go into a store or a restaurant or anywhere in Boston without hearing Portuguese. Like you gotta kind of look in the corner of the menu, but like a lot of times there's like Brazilian items. Like they're like all of my Uber drivers when I go there like are Brazilian, like everywhere. So many
never
Brazilians.
think that either.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
like that doesn't seem like the right temperature at all.
Right.
Yeah, no, and I have no idea how it happened, and I know like Portsmouth like Rhode Island has like a big community too. Obviously, like warm places like Miami and like in California,
Right.
there's a lot, but like
where there is surfing.
yeah, Boston like is the most I've ever seen.
Okay, we got to talk off the air about Rhode Island because I got a student that's moving to Rhode Island to go to college, and I'm like, yeah, I actually don't know anyone that does jiu-jitsu there. I just know there's a fair amount of it, like within a radius.
Yeah.
So like if you're willing to drive once you get there, I'm sure we can. Yeah, I'm sure there's a good school somewhere. But yeah, if you've got any recommendations or anything.
I don't know the area very well. I
Okay,
just know that
never
it's
mind.
a huge community there. Yeah.
But that is shocking to me. Like those are perhaps I'm judging incorrectly, but yeah, like I would have never guessed Boston. I would have never guessed Rhode Island, and yeah,
And I don't know the backstory there. There's got to be, but I don't know what it is.
huh.
Yeah.
Somebody probably got tricked, and then just everyone else came. It's like, oh yeah,
So you have dual citizenship.
Yeah, I've got dual citizenship, and yeah, picking up that thread, like it's interesting because like I actually kind of learned. I knew like house Portuguese, like enough, like my parent, like especially my mom, would say stuff to me in Portuguese, and I would respond in like just kind of like intelligible gibberish, and she'd be like, okay, sure, like she understood, and like, but like I really didn't learn Portuguese till I went to college. I was lucky. I went to University of Wisconsin. They had a Portuguese department there, and so I took a couple semesters of Portuguese, and that kind of, I was like, oh, like there's rules to this, and like all this stuff, and like kind of started relearning my Portuguese, so to speak, there, and it's kind of been going since then.
It's different between like what they speak, what they speak in Portugal versus what they speak in Brazil. It's very, very similar, but just like dialect wise.
I don't know. It's more than just dialect. It is a dialect. It's more than just like an accent, though. They use a certain verb tense they use the two form that we don't really use in Brazil, except like kind of in slang. And they have some different words for stuff, and the accent is pretty extreme, and they have just certain grammatical constructions that they do. It's like mutually intelligible, right? Like you wouldn't have a really hard time per se. It's like more extreme than like the difference like to British English, but I don't know exactly what the English equivalent would be.
Right.
Yeah.
How do they start speaking Portuguese in Brazil?
Immigrants from
That's all.
Portugal.
That's all it was.
They were
Yeah.
colonized by
That's it?
Yeah.
Like the Portuguese Empire, right?
Right.
So like
I don't know the history of it.
colonized Brazil, Cape Verde, Angola, Mozambique, Goa, which is a state in India, Macau, I think is how I said, which is part of China. I might be forgetting some here. The Azores Islands, but that's kind of like the Portuguese Empire used to like span the globe. It was kind of, I think, after the Dutch, I think the Portuguese were the next one. And so the Pope kind of actually divided the quote New World between Portugal and Spain, and like he basically just drew a line like off the edge of the map. And he's like, yeah, whatever's, we don't know what's over there, but whatever's on this side goes to Spain. And so that ended up being, all of Central America and all of South America except for Brazil, and Brazil was on the other side of that line, so Portugal kind of got it.
Oh,
Yeah. There you go.
there you go.
And for the record, the average person who doesn't know that seems to think that people from Brazil, since it's South America, obviously speak Spanish.
And as a troll, I encourage this. Like I was like, absolutely, you should at the. I will tell you how to say hello in Portuguese. It's buenos dias. And next Portuguese person you see, you should tell them that.
Oh man, that's funny. Yeah. I like hearing the language. It's for me now. We're very used to hearing it, you know. So now it's
Because
like
Andre will sometimes forget. Because
Yeah.
now that there's more and more Brazilian Portuguese speakers on the mat, like I'll see him like saying something in Portuguese, saying something to Gabriel, and then he'll like turn to like you or Tyler and like say something.
He'll look right at
Yeah.
my eyes and speak Portuguese, and like I'm looking at him like, oh, okay, all right, I get you. I think I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Something.
I mean, I was talking
not bad,
to,
I know.
I think Tyler's been training with him for like 10 years now.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like joking with him. He's like, oh, I don't even notice anymore. He's just like, I'm just used to it that like he's going to receive some kind of instruction. I'll hear the,
Right.
Kimura in there. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah.
How cool is it that Tyler is getting his black belt?
Is he getting his black belt?
Yeah.
Cool.
Does he know that?
Yeah, he does.
Okay, that's
We were trying to figure out in the locker room kind of who was up for promotion.
Yeah. So Tyler is 24 years old. He's fucking phenomenal.
yes, he is.
Phenomenal jiu-jitsu artist.
Did you get to roll with him?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
We've rolled before, but
Yeah.
and yeah.
So I was thinking, when I talked to him, he's like, he's young, obviously 24, and he's been doing jiu-jitsu since he was 10, and he's just one of those kids that's been on the mat for all these years, and and you can tell he put the work in. It's just phenomenal. I can't really do anything.
Is he happy?
You can't tell if he's happy. I don't know if he's happy. I'm sure he's happy deep down inside, but Tyler keeps his emotions down deep.
Yeah.
He doesn't really break a smile too often, but when he does, it's awesome. And I was just thinking to myself, after I talked to him about him getting his black belt, I was just taking a shower, and I'm thinking to myself, fuck, he's 24. He's gonna get a red belt if he,
he can actually
achieve red belt. He can
Right.
achieve coral. He can achieve. I'm just thinking that is fucking amazing.
You could too. You just have to live to like 125.
That's all. That's all I have to do.
That's
Right.
Easily with
Exactly.
today's technology.
Yeah, I might be half human or something like that. But
Cyborg Zito.
but that's just so cool to think like he's 24 and then he can have that.
I mean, I just think it's cool as a black belt, his knuckles don't hurt yet, right? He's got full use of his body still.
It's crazy. He probably actually disagrees with you. He's like, oh man, I've lost so much range of motion. I don't know. He's not a super bendy guy, right?
He's pretty.
He's
pretty
flexible, but like
he's got. I mean, at least one of his ankles is real bendy. The other one is.
Well, I was gonna say he was probably like 3 times as bendy as a kid coming up.
Yeah.
Because all the little kids that I work with, like absolutely every single one of them has like just crazy kid flexibility. I'm like, one of these days that's gonna stop working if you don't keep working on it.
I know, right?
Yeah, your ability to put your ankles behind your head as a guard, as an impassable guard mechanism.
Right. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I think starting at a young age is fucking awesome. If they stick with it to like Tyler, it's amazing. It's just so cool to see, and well deserved for sure.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Well, I just hope he's happy, because sometimes when you get promoted, like there's that percentage of people that's like shit, like they don't want it, like they're not like you know what I mean. Some people get bummed when they get their promotion. They're like, I always thought it'd be a little bit better than this,
Right. I think. I mean, to be fair, I think most of the guys that I've talked to have at least privately, like obviously not naming names, but like at least privately, they've been like, I don't feel like I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think most people say that.
Majority of people, I would say.
A couple of people that I've talked to have been like, I'm happy. I feel like this is a good time for it and whatnot. But the vast majority have always been like,
I was actually talking to Gabriel about how he promotes at his gym, and he was saying that he buys the belts. He doesn't charge for belts. He gives them, but he doesn't charge for the promotion. But he hopes that they would pay for the belt at least, the whatever the $20 belt is. But he goes, a lot of times people don't even pay me for the belt. They just take the belt and they go. And he goes, what the fuck? I just at least pay for the fucking belt. The belt cost me something, right? I don't charge you for anything else. But and he's like, he doesn't tell who's getting promoted. He kind of just does it.
He does the surprise one.
He does the surprise. I think that's cool. I personally, I'm a fan of that. You don't need to tell me when I'm going to promote. Just do it whenever.
See, I'm of such mixed minds on it personally because
you test for it at LCCT.
We test for it.
Yeah. Which Gabriel also mentioned. He's like, I would like to test. I would like to create test for.
Yeah, tell me more about that. I want to hear how the testing works.
So there's a test, and everyone who's getting promoted knows what they're going for. So like it's not a surprise. It's like Luis will tell you like, hey,
well, yeah, you're getting the next belt.
Well, right, but I'm saying like you as a blue belt, you are ready. We're testing you. We're not going to test you this time. You need more time in, whatever it may be. So like it's never a surprise. It was a little bit of a surprise for me that I was tested for my brown belt, but Yeah, like it's never a surprise. We have a lengthy study period going up to make sure that everyone's familiar with it. You know, it's like nobody wants to have that feeling of, oh, we're going to go through a test and I was unprepared.
Yeah. So it's kind of more of a demonstration, right?
A little bit, yeah. Like it's to show that you know the techniques that form the core of the system, can demonstrate them properly. That includes some stuff that we don't go over as often in class. So, you know.
Has anyone ever failed and not gotten promoted?
Not that I personally know of. So, yeah, like, but again.
I'm not trying to call anyone out.
No.
I'm just saying,
that would
has
be
that
like
ever
against
happened?
the spirit of things, right? It's.
Right.
I think it's really more for.
It's not the intention that anyone should have to fail.
Right.
And it's actually like, here's one of the things that I think is really good.
Because I just think that if you're testing, there's a pass and a fail.
No, that's just
Right?
it.
Because you're calling it a test.
There's a score. So like there.
Oh, you get graded?
Yes, there's a grade. Okay.
Like 60%, 80%, 100%?
So
Yeah.
What?
Really? What's
Yeah.
failing then?
I don't actually
you don't
know.
know?
Yeah,
A 30% failing?
I'm not a black belt yet.
What is
I don't have to test anyone.
Like what's
Yeah.
the point of that?
So like, I think the idea is it's mainly to be like, you did bad on this and we need to work on that, but here's your belt anyhow type thing. More so than you know, okay, you didn't do good enough, you're out of
But
here.
is it private? Like, do they post the test scores for
Oh,
everyone
no,
to
no,
see?
that's just
okay.
between
All
you.
right, okay.
Yeah.
Like
okay,
in high
I guess-
school, you put the test scores up on the
No,
board.
no,
Yeah, the following people are in the JV squad. Sorry.
Right. So like, just as an example, like if you're going through your blue belt test and you like just bomb open guard, like you got no spider guard, you got no open guard technique whatsoever and everything. It's like, okay, you know, like you pass. This was a poor section for you. Let's focus on that going forward so we can round out your game and make sure that there's not this gaping hole where you're supposed to have technique. So I think that's the main purpose of like the score idea. But yeah, it's not like, you know, you got an A, you got a C minus, and you are now the worst of the new belts.
But we all know that's true.
Well, that's proven out on the mat. So
Exactly.
But the thing that I think is actually pretty good about it, above and beyond, like obviously you know, if you have a core set of fundamental techniques and you want to make sure that you're going to be passing them on from belt generation to belt generation. Obviously, you need something like that, whether it be, you know, like this is what we go over in class all these times and we're just going to go over it, you know, and this is the curriculum, or whether it's in the form of a test. But I think one thing that people underestimate about the test is for those that don't compete, that is one of the weird, super high stress situations that you can be put in that's different from rolling, like just, you know, where you can just be like, oh, I'm going to chill out and play my game, because it can take you out of your comfort zone really, really easily.
Yeah.
You're suddenly being graded on things. You may be assigned, because we have multiple black belts that come in from out of town to help with the test. Makes it go by a lot faster than obviously if Luis or Tiago were the only ones testing. So you might get assigned to a guy that you've only met once or twice, maybe never.
Oh, so there's like multiple tests going on
all at
time.
once.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And everyone does this differently, mind you. Like I don't think the Helson affiliates do it quite the same way as, because I've talked to a couple of guys about it as we do. But yeah, and this seems to be also maybe I'm talking out of my ass, but like this seems to mostly be something that like Elio's side of the family seems to prefer. Like as I've observed, the guys that are closer to that. So like we're Hickson affiliates, and Hickson tests, and that's why we test. So yeah.
Carlson, he wasn't. I thought Carlson did test.
I'm not familiar. I don't know. I do. Yeah. So I'm familiar with that style because I used to, before I did Jiu Jitsu, I did Aikido, a different martial art. And so I did that for like 3 or 4 years, got like my first degree brown belt. The belt scale and speed is a little bit different. And so we would test, right? And so that was kind of the same thing where like when you were kind of close, they would pair you with a senpai who was like a senior student that was basically assigned to tutor you for this. Right. And so you do like basically privates with them after class, just like 15 minutes and just like work on like the core, like kata you'd have to show at each level. And so you would, we'd get ready. And like, so when the senpai and kind of the senior instructors in the dojo felt like you were ready, they'd be like, all right, cool. You're going to do the next testing and do it like in like promotions would be like quarterly or biannually. And that was much more of like a kind of a performance type thing where like you would get up, like the whole dojo would be there seated and family members, and you would, they would call out the techniques and you do the techniques. And as you got more advanced, there'd be more grab bag stuff of like, the other person would like, okay, now do it with a tanto. And they do like the other person would then attack you with like a wooden knife, or like, okay, now we have multiple attackers or something like that as you get like higher up. But in the beginning, it was very kind of like kata based. And so on the other end of that, like at the school, I got my blue and purple belt from Baltimore BJJ. We more or less did a hazing, which I kind of like, right? So we would, when you were getting your purple and brown, you'd show off a technique. Or you'd teach a technique, right? So it was like your chance to be like show off some part of your game. And so then everyone would, take 10 minutes to rep the thing you'd shown. And then you had to do a gauntlet. So you had 1 minute rolls with the entire gym in reverse rank order. So you start with the white belts and then go all the way down through the black belts for like 1 minute or like 45 seconds each. So like you're re-rolling for like 45 straight minutes, and people are dicks about it. Like, you don't like really slap hands. You kind of like jump on their back when you're like finishing up with the next person.
Very nice.
And we had this playlist that was basically all the 80s martial arts movies, like fight songs, like strung
like
together
best
into
around
one. Oh yeah, but like 45 minutes, like all of them, and like the Rocky theme, and with like the voiceovers from like the famous fight scenes in there. We just kind of would like loop over that.
I love this.
Yeah, it was
It's really cool.
It was great.
Sounds like fun. This is Baltimore BJJ?
This is Baltimore BJJ.
They still do that?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Sure,
yeah. It is a great tradition. And then the whole gym. Once you get your belt, the whole gym gets one chance to throw you. So like
right, thrown into your belt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
yeah, that's a super common tradition in judo.
We do
Actually,
have the Nekos too. They throw you.
they throw you. That's your.
but only the black belts throw you.
Only the black belts.
Yeah. This was like everyone within.
Oh,
throwing.
everybody.
Yeah, so
even the
it was,
white belts. They don't know how to throw you. They're like,
yeah. They
sort of. I'm gonna hug you and take you to the
We
ground.
always joke. It was like, this is like, if you were an actual judoka, they're like, this is embarrassing. Like you guys
ever had
should
somebody
feel bad.
guard pull on you?
No, but I used to like what I would do is I would do like a big like wind up, like I was going to do a huge blast double, and I would do like an ankle pick or something small like that.
Yeah, in judo, the way it works is you get thrown in your belt, but only by the higher belts. So you get promoted to brown belt, only the black belts and senior brown belts are going to throw you, for example.
Makes sense.
And it's funny because like judo also has like traditionally has two methods of ranking up, and I think most of my so I have a variety of traditional martial arts backgrounds, and pretty much all of them had a testing thing. So when I came to jiu-jitsu and found out that like literally at some clubs are just like, oh, you're ready for it, throw a belt at you and you're done. And I'm like, this is very different from what I'm accustomed to, but kind of cool because jiu-jitsu has, as a general rule, I feel like kind of a lot more laid back culturally than especially a lot of the Japanese origin martial arts were super formal. But yeah, like in judo, there's a path where you like formally test and you level up your belts and whatnot, and then there's like, or you can just fight for it. Like you just go out and whip the shit out of people at Shia. It's called Batsugan. And if you're doing good competitively, they're just like, this guy is too good. We have to promote him.
Like this is at tournaments or like in the gym?
So there's different formats for running that, as I understand it. Yeah. Typically, like I guess actual Batsugan. I've never done like true Batsugan. We definitely have people that are more expert on this than I am that we could talk to. But I believe they run you through like a gauntlet of senior belts for like super hard randori, but like Shiai level competition where it's just like like this is going to be like as real as it gets, and you have to make it through the gauntlet to be like, okay, yeah, he's ready. So you basically got to beat guys that are legit trying to beat you.
So that sounds like something you could fail.
Yeah, that is definitely something you can fail from what I understand.
Yeah,
that's cool. But again, that's usually reserved for like the competitor's path. Like that guy's like a friggin' phenom, and he's only an orange belt. Let's give him an opportunity.
This is kind of like in BJJ where they might hold you back because you're training for worlds at your belt.
Right. Like, yeah, pretty similar. I mean, pretty similar path in that regard, I feel. And again, like I've seen a bunch of different ways of people getting their belts in jiu-jitsu. Like there's no one universal standard. Some guys test for it. Some guys, are going to just be given that belt when their coach feels they're ready. Oftentimes totally by surprise. And then some guys, do belt promotion ceremonies where it's coming, but you don't have to do anything extra for it. And then probably my favorite is, on the podium. Like that's super cool.
Yeah, that is the dream. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a dream. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the coolest way.
Of course.
Yeah.
Or like that AOJ guy who got his black belt.
Oh yeah,
after
they
he went-
threw it at him on
threw it at him on the mat.
After
Just
he
threw him the
won.
black belt on
I
the
should know
mat.
his name.
I don't know his name, but it's so dope.
Yeah.
Like he just won worlds, and he's just get the guy's hand raised, and then you see Guillermo. Is that right? That's who
Guy.
threw it.
Guy,
Guy.
yeah.
Throw the black
Yeah.
belt right at him on the mat.
What like was it a new black belt, or you like take off his and throw
No,
it? Or
it was a new black
I
belt.
think those guys are always strapped with a black belt. They're
I think
Yeah, just an
I think
emergency
they
black
just-
belt.
It's like they got like a leg holster.
Right, yeah, they're like set up like John Wick, just shit everywhere, right? They're just boom, here it is,
Yeah.
I got it.
What if he
I got
threw
it.
the wrong one? Like he accidentally tosses a black belt to a purple.
Right.
It's like, oh, I can't take that back now. It's on Instagram.
Speaking of John Wick, was there did you guys see the new John
No,
Wick?
I suck. I wanted to go last week and I didn't.
suck, dude.
Yeah, I'm
I
sorry.
saw- yeah, it was cool.
Was there I liked it.
Yeah.
Was there a lot more judo in it than
Judo and
jiu-jitsu?
sambo.
Judo and sambo, yes.
Yeah,
I thought-
Kind of
yeah.
did say it.
deliberately so.
Deliberately so.
There-
They actually had a sambo
They had a sambo
room.
training scene,
That
yeah.
was so cool.
There was some like we were talking about this after our last time. It's really cool to see how like fight choreography has like come along over the years because kind of evolved into like more,
Not all of it, but the
lot of
people
it.
doing
all,
it right.
all of it, all of
Not
it,
all
Cito.
of it.
All-
So there's some ridiculous shows still.
Yeah, no,
doing
absolutely.
stupid
But
shit.
like, I remember the first time I saw jiu-jitsu, I think in a movie was Inception. He does like when they're doing like the zero gravity fight scene by the elevators. He does like some type of arm triangle or like triangle arm bar thing or something. I don't remember.
Lethal Weapon, man. We can't forget Lethal
Oh
Weapon.
yeah, you're right.
Oh
Lethal
yeah.
Weapon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So recently though, but then
I forget all that shit from the 80s. I didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
Like,
I mean, it is a terrible triangle joke.
It is 100%.
Yeah,
It's dog shit.
but then in like it was a couple years ago. There's like an awful also triangle choke.
Are we bringing up Black Panther?
Black Panther.
Oh God,
Yeah.
One of my buddies loves that movie so much. He really identifies with the character.
Yeah.
He thinks it's awesome. And he was so disappointed. He's like, man, that fight scene was so good until that terrible triangle.
Yeah, or I think there's a couple. I think I was on a plane, and so I watched like the Kingsman like 2 or whatever, and there's like a flying omoplata in
Yep,
that.
yeah.
And then in John Wick, there was an ankle pick, which like I was like cheering for the ankle pick. I was like, yes.
John Wick really surprised me just because they really like it's so much more realistic. Like having to shoot the guy in
Over
the
the
neck,
top, but realistic.
Yeah, over the top, but having to shoot the guys in the neck was so dope.
Yeah.
It's just like, and he just
Let's
tap,
be
tap,
careful.
tap.
Let's be careful with the spoilers. So
Sorry.
you just yeah.
Well, he shoots a lot of
Someone
guys.
dies
No,
in
no,
the movie.
some-
which is
a lot of people
Wait
die.
a second. Wait. Well, somebody dies
I've
in
never
a
seen
John
any of the
Wick
John
movie?
Wicks before. That was my
Wait,
first.
you started
one.
with 3?
You
I
started
started
with
with
3?
3. Yeah,
Oh,
I was
wow.
actually able to follow the plot. It's really surprising. They did a really great job of like
did a really
you're
good
just
job.
supposed to kill all these people.
Yeah,
I followed
just
it.
kill them all.
My favorite was the knife fight where they just kept throwing the knives at each
Yes,
other and
yes.
missing.
It's great.
I was like,
It's so
everyone
good.
else was like silent. I was laughing my ass off. I thought that shit was hilarious.
It was the best.
They threw like 20 knives at
Yeah,
each other.
they couldn't stick. That's so real though.
Yeah,
it's so
it's
so
like
much
every
realistic.
other knife fight I get in, I feel like it goes like that.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, like having to shoot the guys in the neck was like so on the money. It was like, yeah, of course, that makes more sense. It's just it was such a well done movie.
Yeah, for sure.
And Javi, just the fact that you haven't seen it, I don't know. You
Listen.
failed. You failed this fucking test.
I went to the movies.
Uh-huh.
I was with my family.
Yeah.
The choices were, let's see, we could go see John Wick,
Uh-huh.
which, you know, very, very high on the list. Godzilla.
Okay.
Pretty high on my
Godzilla
list.
is out again?
Yeah, it's the new Godzilla.
What?
Just
Sorry.
let it go, man.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Which is, you know, I've been a big Toho fan my whole life. Wanted to see this. Enjoyed the last remake.
Yeah.
Or Pokemon.
Oh, yeah.
Detective Pikachu. And yeah, guess which won the vote.
Sad, dude. Sad you actually said that on air.
Hey,
We might have to edit that out.
I'm a dad.
Yeah.
Sometimes I got to do dad
Okay,
things.
that's cool, man. Yeah, I see where you're at. All right, Pokemon wins. Okay.
It was actually not that bad, but it definitely was not John Wick.
Definitely not John Wick.
No, for
Tell you
sure
that.
not.
For sure.
So
Fuck.
Yeah.
I will rectify that situation as soon as possible. But sorry, I'm the odd man out on this conversation.
It's okay. It's amazing. It's an amazing show. Amazing movie. I'm watching on Showtime. I know it's been out for a long time, but Dexter.
Oh, yeah, you're way behind on that.
Yeah,
curve.
way behind on that curve. But I'm getting bored. I need shit to watch. So Dexter, I'm like, I'll give this a shot. And they do rear naked chokes in it. I'm just like,
Oh, they're terrible, right?
what the fuck is this going on?
Yeah.
Like, can he just show?
I don't
it's not
understand the
that hard of a
Hollywood
technique. It's not hard.
But that happens in Hollywood all the time where it's like, okay, everyone on set, like the stunt guys, they all for sure know how to do this. This
You
is
would
like the
assume
most
so.
the most basic tech. No, I know so. Everyone knows how to do it.
All right.
So like suddenly we're going to give it to an actor and it's like, we don't want you to accidentally do this too well. So we're going to have you like pro wrestling style grip it or something.
So stupid.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
It's so
The
ridiculous.
worst thing though is like we all know how somebody actually reacts when they either are getting choked out or actually do go out.
Yeah.
So like the actor that's in that choke that's never seen it before, never done it before, always acts wrong.
Exactly.
Always. Yeah.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah. It's like, man, you're that's no.
Yeah,
No.
I know. So I no spoiler alert because it's been out for a while, but Dexter does it better than his brother, I guess. His brother's was dog shit. I'm like, that girl is not
He
gonna
would
go.
not pass the test. He wouldn't get his blue belt.
Fuck
or maybe
no.
he'd get his blue belt, but he'd get a 0 in that category. They'd
Yeah,
have
exactly.
To, have
Yeah,
to do
it
again.
was just.
Yeah.
I'm just like, how the fuck is this even thing?
To be fair, I feel like if you can't do a rear naked choke, you're not passing
Yeah,
that
yeah.
test. Come
No.
on, man.
Anyway, it just reminded me of like just bad movies and bad stuff. Like, ugh. But I don't know what year did Dexter come out because I know there's like 8 seasons, so it.
Well,
Yeah,
well,
it's been
pretty-
a while, but I don't remember what year it started.
Late 2000s, I would assume.
So
Let's say yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So speaking of like techniques and grading, like so you guys, I think everyone here has taught before, right? So
Yeah.
we were talking about this last week too. So like what do you guys? Because I thought this was an interesting conversation. Like, what do you guys teach? Like what's the structure? Like, you know, because you have like so many different martial arts, and then you're like kind of teaching under Mineko's umbrella, and I for 4 years was the coach of the Johns Hopkins Jiu Jitsu Club, and so I had a lot of free reign there.
And I want to talk about that. So
Yeah,
let's
that's why
bring that
that's
right
why
back.
You see what I was doing there? I was
Yeah,
setting
yeah,
it
it's
up.
a nice segue.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, thank you for pointing out that it was. It's much more natural when you explain
When I
that
explain it, yeah.
We're now transitioning to a different topic in the podcast.
Getting away from this John Wick and
getting away from Zito's Netflix
It was Showtime.
review.
It's Showtime.
his
Okay.
Showtime obsession.
Sorry.
My bad.
Thank you.
But so I kind of teach whatever's asked of me per se. I have a general format at some of the clubs where it's like okay, so at 10th Planet, for example, the main class I teach is all focused around leg locks. At Deerfield, the class I teach is kind of a liberal mixture of techniques with a focus on no-gi, and it's also like the main stand-up class at that school. Not that every class is stand-up, but like our rounds all start on the feet. You know, we teach I teach a mix of stand-up techniques and ground techniques, and most of that stuff is based on one of my friends and coaches, Riley Bodycomb.
Okay, yeah.
His like no-gi sambo approach, which works very well for jiu-jitsu.
Cool.
At LCCT, sometimes I'm freestyling, you know, it's like, okay, like what do you want to teach this week? Go ahead and teach that. And other times I'm following Luis's lead. Like this week is all half guard. We're going to do these specific techniques from the curriculum. So yeah, that kind of varies a little bit. At Barrington, when I teach on my no-gi class on Friday night, that I've got a lot of freedom on what I want to show, and I'll, you know, take it all over the place. But the main objective there is I try to teach complete games. So like everything, I try to integrate everything from one lesson to another because I only get those guys for 1 day a week. So if I'm like, oh, we're gonna do some random thing over here. This is all no-gi. So it's like we're gonna do leg locks one day, and we're gonna do crucifix the other day, and we're gonna do almost like that's gonna be a mess. So you know, I build off every lesson, integrates backwards and then forwards to the previous.
So you
and
have
next lesson.
like a long-term curriculum design of
Yeah.
like for multiple weeks, like where it's not just like this is half guard month. It's just like you're connecting like almost like a story arc. Yeah.
Like I love the way you said that.
Yeah.
Yes. So like for example, last month we focused very heavily on the interplay between like arm triangles and the gift wrap, and some weird correlations between there, like my omoplata to arm triangle, to gift wrap, like just a weird chain of attacks. Because the previous month we had done omoplata, so yeah, and then this month, kind of like the main focus has been like scarf. And then just last night, I showed like, okay, here's where you get scarf and go to the arm triangle. From the arm triangle, you can get the gift wrap, so on and so forth. This takes us back to the previous techniques that we're working on, and it's all about connecting those dots and creating like a web of technique. Cool. So
let me follow up. Because I've been thinking a lot about this too. Do you think you know how to get better at jiu-jitsu? Like, do you think if I gave you like carte blanche to like design your ideal like lesson and training plan for you, that you would know how to? Because I think about because you know, especially you get in the upper belts, like brown, and I assume actually probably even more so into black belt, like you're really like developing like your own game, right? Mm-hmm. But you're still going to a school where it's just like, okay, this is half guard month, right? And like thinking about like, do I even like really have a sense of like what I should be working on and like where my gaps are, especially if you're not like competing. Right. And the thing I think is really hard about jiu-jitsu, and I tell this a lot to like white and blue belts, is like, it's really hard to tell when you're getting better. Like, cause you don't know what better looks like yet. Like you don't really, until you submit someone, until you get so good that you're like, you're able to pass their guard or like, get the submission. Like then clearly like you've made the next step. But like there's all these little things before that where like you don't really know if you're on the right track or not.
Right.
But like I'll roll with the white belt and like they will never they won't pass my guard. They certainly won't submit me. They won't get anything. But I'm in my head, I'm like, man, this kid's doing really good. Like he's doing all the right things. I just know, like, I know the counter to everything you're trying to do, but like you're really doing great. But he never gets that feedback. He has no idea that he's on the right track.
Right.
See, and that's exactly it. So it's easier, I feel, to monitor the progress of others.
Yeah.
Whether it's against you or against, like these two guys go head and head and one guy's clearly pulling ahead now.
But do you think it's because you know where they're going and they kind of don't?
No, maybe that's a part of it, but I think it's just like you can see from an outside perspective that progress is being made.
Yeah.
And we also tend to focus on success in what we want versus what we need. So like I'll go on the mats and I'll utterly and completely dominate some lower belt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, like I was terrible today.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean? You smashed me? I'm like, yeah, but like you blocked my one sweep. You're getting so much better. like a week ago, 2 months ago, whatever, like that would have worked 100%. And I just feel miserable now because now that doesn't work anymore. And I had to work so much harder than I thought I would. And it's like, they didn't think they were doing the good. They felt like they were, getting smashed the whole time. And I'm like, oh God, he's coming along so fast. So it's definitely easier for me to observe that progress with others most of the time. When I observe my own progress, it's about finding metrics to measure myself against.
Ooh, okay, yeah.
So you can do that this probably appeals to your math sensibilities. You can do that with like statistics and numbers and whatnot, or you can do it kind of like by general feel.
Yeah.
Like, it's very easy for me to go, oh, like a year ago I couldn't pass this guy's guard and now I can. I've clearly improved my guard passing.
Yeah, but like that's over the course of a year.
Right. Well,
like year over year.
Sorry. 3 weeks ago, whatever it may be.
But I think like that's my point is like, it's harder and harder at the smaller and smaller. I mean, maybe the answer is just being patient, right? But like I feel like there's a lot of, my perception is that there's a lot of progress markers that like you're just not sensitive to because you're just not at the next level yet. So you're not aware that you've made the correct adjustment.
Right. And
like halfway.
For the most part, I feel like that's something that good coaching will include.
Yeah.
I don't think the average person self-monitors correctly.
For sure. 100%.
And like you have to set goals. And a lot of people set very, very abstract goals, like this is my year to win worlds or whatever.
Well, that's not abstract. That's
no. I feel like that is because
really?
If that's your only goal and you don't know what steps you need to get there, then you've just that's very pie in the sky.
Yeah.
Whereas it's like, okay, like I need to drill this technique to get better at it because this is clearly a path to victory. Is a much, perhaps abstract was the wrong word, but it is a much more concrete goal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think a lot of people do have abstract goals of like, I just want to be better, right? But like, what does better mean? What does it look like? But
I for sure have said that.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all have, right, at some point. But I think it's interesting you talk about metrics because, like, so before I did jiu-jitsu, before I did aikido, I spent about a decade as an endurance athlete. I was a runner, a triathlete, and a cyclist at various times. And like, I've been talking a lot to one of my good friends about this because we're both kind of ramping up our training again. I had some craziness with my work life and a couple injuries. So I kind of took off for, about a quarter. You probably noticed you didn't see me. And she's also coming off some injuries. So we're both like ramping up our training at the same time. And like that endurance athlete world, she's a cyclist. I left that out. Like is very like people know very much what you need to do. It's like volume, certain types of workouts, and you have certain races you're like peaking for, and like your volume goes up and then your volume goes down but is higher and higher intensity, and then you taper off and then you go to like your big races, right? And I feel like a lot of jiu-jitsu folks don't. You just train. Like you just kind of keep training and you train forever, and that's not like necessarily bad, but like one thing I have noticed in talking to her about it, her big things now is rest. She's like this huge advocate for like rest being a critical component to training, like as much as being on the mat. And like, I have my notebook. And so I keep track of like how much I'm training and how much I'm doing all my cross training and stuff. And like noticing like, oh man, like I felt like garbage today. Like, I am a bad person. I am bad at jiu-jitsu. Like Maneko should knock me back down to purple belt. This will be the first time this has ever happened, but I probably deserve it. But like looking and being like, oh, like I've been training like 10 hours in the last 3 days. Like that is why I am tired. And then like I had 3 days of rest where like all I did was like bike commute and some yoga, and I showed up on the mat today and I felt like great. And I'm like, I wonder if there's a correlation between these two things.
No, clearly not.
But like,
Clearly
I think most of the time, most people in jiu-jitsu are kind of just not even aware of that.
Right.
It's just kind of every day is just like this totally independent thing, and you just keep showing up and training. And yeah.
I mean, for me personally,
Yeah, I'm also aware of that. I mean, I brought up before when I said time off is I feel better when I take time off. Like I need those rest days.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's just because of my age, but I feel like I start hitting that peak.
Everyone needs rest. There's
Everyone
no
needs
one
rest.
who doesn't need rest.
But I start, because I used to train. I mean, now I train, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and so I have 3 days off. But I didn't always. When I first started, I'm like, I want to do 5 days a week. I don't need that much time off. But you start hitting that peak, and you're just like, fuck. I feel like I'm not getting better because I'm not resting enough.
And psychologically, I think it's hard, right? Because like you need to. This is something that came up, I think, last time. Was like you need to. Last time I was on, you need to practice winning, right? And like if you're just showing up gassed all the time, and like you're just getting beat up. Like I guess if you like know you're going into it of like, look, I'm exhausted. I'm just going to survive today. Like it's worth it. But otherwise, like you're not rested. You're not practicing winning. Like at least for me, like I'm very psychologically sensitive to this stuff. Where I'm just like, man, like I haven't like gotten a good string of submissions in like 2 weeks. And it's I think it's hard for a lot of people to like step back and be like, oh, like I've been training too much or I'm training too little, and like that stuff matters.
Yeah, for me personally.
You don't count. You're not human.
See, people got to stop saying that. I just do things differently. No, but like, if you look at my Facebook check-ins and stuff like that, you probably get the impression that I'm, training all the time because I'm training all the time.
Yeah,
but there's a world of difference.
Exactly right.
It's deep, bro. It's deep.
But there's a world of difference between like going 2 hours hard rolls at the gym and showing up to help teach for an hour and a half and getting in 30 minutes of rolls. So like I'm both able to self-modulate, and also the way that I have my schedule set up, even though I'm at the gym constantly, I'm not, Abu Dhabi finals constantly, and that I think is a really, really important thing. Most of the guys that I know that get physically burned out from it are pushing themselves too hard every session that they go without adequate rest in between. My rest is very, very active recovery, but it's also like, it's because I have my teaching opportunities, where it's like, oh, the majority of this class is going to be me talking. That's a world of difference between the majority of this class is me going to be drilling for an hour, then competition rounds for an hour, and then we're also going to have a hard cardio warm up. That would kill me too. I'm pretty sure it would. It hasn't yet, but one day it will kill me.
I keep track of, in this cycle, I keep track of 3 things. I keep track of like what I call like maintenance, so like yoga or like PT. I've had some back problems in the past, so I try to just do some regular PT exercises, like low intensity training, which is like my bike commute to work and like the instructional part of class where I'm being taught, and then like high intensity training, which is basically just rolling. And if I were to do like I don't know, something like CrossFit or something else, that would also go under high intensity. But like those are the three things where I just try and like keep those in balance.
Yeah.
I tend to include like I don't know if you've got that separately, but I tend to include like high intensity drilling and positional sparring without necessarily full live rolling in pretty high intensity stuff. So like especially for like doing speed drills for like 2 minutes just nonstop Toriano pass or whatever, stuff like that. That tends to get really, really crazy intense sometimes. Depends on who I'm going with, I guess, but usually. So yeah, that can be very, very intense stuff. So yeah, I would group certain drills together with basically live training in terms of the level of intensity. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I like it. I like
Your rest.
I like my rest.
Rest is good. Yeah.
I do. I just like those days off. I mean, Wednesday to Thursday. That Thursday I'm feeling it. Like, because Wednesday I do no gi and then gi, and for our no gi class we roll for a half hour. So I do the 30-minute warm up and one technique, and then we roll for 30 minutes, and then I take the next class, do an hour technique, another half hour rolling, and then come Thursday I'm like, oh fuck, I'm doing the beginners class and I'm doing the advanced class, and it's like Thursdays. And then, of course, Mineko's, it's Thursday, end of the week. Okay, we do more rolling. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay.
Well, it's hard to take those rest days off and not, like, give in to that idea of, like, well, someone else is training right now, right?
Right.
Like,
You're losing gains.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
We're skinny. I don't feel like I have gains, but, like,
performance
gains,
technique gains, clearly.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and then you have the younger guys in our gym who train in the morning and they come at night, and you're like, fucking.
Where are they in the afternoon?
I probably.
What's wrong with your
sleeping or
younger
eating.
guys?
I don't know. I don't know what they're doing, but
Yeah. We're talking about that the benefit of if only you could sleep on the mats, right?
Yeah. I mean, I remember I had like an interesting moment about that, like when I was actually a white belt, and I lied and said I was a blue belt. Don't tell anyone. So I could.
You are a terrible person.
Yeah. So I could go to.
don't worry, no one's listening to
Yes.
this at all.
You guys are just humoring me. You're like, yeah, sure, we'll have you back next week. We'll turn the light on in the on-air
Zito
thing.
didn't even hit record.
Yeah, exactly. Has that ever happened? Have you guys ever
Thank
failed?
God, no.
Thank God, no.
Yeah, that would be awful. I lied. I said it was a blue belt so I could go to Pan Am's. This is when I lived in Baltimore, so I go up to New York for Nogi Pans. And I pulled my first round. This guy, I don't know if you guys ever heard of him. I think his name is pronounced Edwin Najmi.
Yeah.
As a blue belt, and it's just like this skinny kid, and
He's kind of fantastic.
yeah, and like he just immediately triangled me. He was doing a lot of triangles back then, and like almost broke my arm. And like it was like a triangle that was like slick enough that like it took me. Relative to my like where my jiu-jitsu brain was, it took me a couple years to be like, how the F did you get that triangle on me like so fast from there? Right. And then I was talking to my friend about this. This is actually Rick Slamba, who moved out to AOJ and won purple belts at Worlds, actually beating Edwin Najmi, and now owns Forum Jiu-Jitsu Academy out in Baltimore as a AOJ black belt. But he like kind of like looked at the kid and kind of like looked at me afterwards. He's like, you see that jacket he's wearing? He's like, you see how it says like Abu Dhabi on it? I was like, yeah. He's like, so that's a pretty big tournament. And then he like later was quietly like, because I think he saw the skill there and was like quietly like looking up on YouTube. Like he was like, yeah, this kid's got a highlight video that was basically boring because it was just 6 minutes of like that
Him
same triangling people
over and over again.
Yeah, and just I was like, man, like, because I was younger than I was probably like 26, and it was like, man, this kid's so much better than me. And Rick was like, yeah, he's like, that kid lives with it. I'm positive. He's like, that kid lives with his parents. Like, all he has to do every day is like go to jiu-jitsu, go home, eat lunch, nap, go back to jiu-jitsu, go home, eat dinner, go to sleep, and like that's all they do. And this was like a you could tell how young I was. This is like mind-blowing that like you couldn't just like have heart and like go to jiu-jitsu every day after work and like become the best in the world. It's like it feels so naive to say it now, but at the time, this idea of like, oh, like I can never catch up to these guys. I can never beat them was like, whoa, like there's, we didn't have the expression there's levels to this game yet that hadn't been invented yet, but there's levels to this game.
Well, certain styles also, I mean, jiu-jitsu styles make matches too. We always talk about styles make fights, that phrase. when Rogan says it and whomever says it about UFC fighters, I think the same thing definitely applies to jiu-jitsu. People have their own style, and this guy beating that guy doesn't mean that guy automatically beats that guy because he won that match. You know what I mean? It's stylistically, I have good rolls, and then I have fucking horrible rolls where I can't do shit that I want to do, and it's just
because somebody dismantles your game.
His style is just fucking.
You're one of those roles for me.
Am I?
Because I always tease Zito about this because he plays guard. He plays it. From his point of view, he leans to the left side and he does like this scissor hook thing, and he just knows all the little counters and the overhooks and whatever like from there, and it's just super annoying because like no one else does this. So like I get like 15 minutes of practice a week on a good week with this stuff, and so like it's super annoying. Yeah.
I know. I annoys some people.
Yeah, like today, like you were like in like I had you in like leg drag, but you had like reached over and had like a cross collar from like that weird under position, and like I was going to tap, but then the voice of God came through.
You got anxious.
AKA DMX came on, and he was he was just screaming in my ears like, "Do you think this is a motherfucking game?" And I was like, "No, X is going to give it to you." And I got out from under there.
You did.
I triangled you for like long enough that I think I hurt my knee doing it, but like I eventually got it, and it took everything.
You got the arm bar. It was the arm bar.
I don't remember. All I was thinking about was just
murdering
just feeling
Zito.
DMX just like channeled through me.
I thought
that is incredibly
when I had
powerful.
that cross choke on you, as I set up, and I was setting up so I could just roll you over, which I eventually did.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna start putting on, and then you got
no,
like,
it was
you
the
hulked
start
up.
of the song. It was
You
just
hulked
like,
the fuck
you
up.
think this is a game? I don't want to like go full DMX here, but like I was just like, oh no, this is not a motherfucking game. Like
I am not gonna take this fucking cross collar choke. No,
no.
I'm getting the fuck out of this.
Yeah.
I now wish that we had the footage and could then put the song over the footage at that exact moment. That'd be so great.
It would
was
be great
good.
because we'd see how old and slow we actually look doing. It would not be cool at all. It'd be like, oh, he's got him out and he's just kind of tipping over. God, he doesn't know how to finish this triangle, does he? He's just pulling on random limbs.
That's amazingly self-aware because I'm convinced that all jiu-jitsu practitioners think they look like Rafa Mendes until they actually see footage of themselves and they're just like, I'm so unathletic.
I watch my tournament like videos, and I'm just like, I clearly like can't bend my back right, so like I can't like get into that low squat to passing. I'm just kind of like leaned over like a puppet. I'm just like, oh god.
The camera does not lie.
The camera does not lie.
So true. Oh man, yeah. I put DMX on just so you know.
That's well.
I put I like when I got. Actually, I had Kings of Leon first, and then
glad I came late.
Yeah, exactly. Hafina's like, he's like, I'm not going to sleep. I'm like, all right, I'll switch it up.
I wasn't there to translate all the derogatory things he wanted to say to you.
I'm sure. So I'm like, all right. So I'm thinking to myself, what can I put on? I'm like, I'm gonna throw some DMX on, and then
there we go.
And that. And the beginning of jiu-jitsu, that was my demise. That's how you got me. That was it. Fucked me up. Last roll, I was like, all right, I can't roll anymore.
So speaking of Hafina and translating, if you guys want to circle it back, do you want to talk more about kind of like, because we were having some discussions last time about kind of like Brazil and like Brazilian culture. And like,
I want your perspective on that because I don't have that perspective. I'm a total gringo here.
Total gringo. Yeah, I think like, I do think it's interesting that like in jiu-jitsu, like you're basically kind of like participating in this microcosm of like Brazilian culture and like, but like you have no idea, like you kind of think that either it's like individuals like personal eccentricities or like kind of like, just Brazilians are kind of this way, but like don't get like kind of where it comes from. Cause like, it's not like people get together and we have like a meeting and we decide what our culture is going to be. Like it comes from like specific, like cultural, like, you know, like economic and like political influences.
Maybe you just didn't get the memo.
Yeah. It's awkward. Yeah.
But yeah, no, like Brazilian jiu-jitsu, you're saying, is deeply influenced by actual Brazilian culture?
Yeah, like
shocking.
To all levels. Like just, you know, for example, I think like the IBJ, like not to turn this into another IBJJF episode because I know Paul hates that. What up, Paul?
Oh, you know, he dipped out without even saying goodbye. So fuck that guy.
That's his Irish goodbye, man. You'll never. If Paul ever says goodbye to you, Dude,
That means he's about to kill you, right?
I don't even know what would happen.
We circled it back to John Wick.
Yeah, you better be careful. If he says bye to you, there's something wrong.
So like the IBJJF is a great example of like it is to many Americans it feels like super bureaucratic and like goes back and forth about like whether it's like well run and all this like stuff you have to do with like, you know, you've got your IDs and your ID cards and your affiliation and you have to have your ID card on, and it's just like all the different like even getting through the corral, it's like you got through like this person who checks in, this person weighs this person, like it's all this stuff. And like what I think Americans don't realize is like, bro, you don't know, like the whole country is run that way. Like if you can imagine an entire country being run like the IBJJF, like that's what it's like to be Brazilian. And so I think like to that
Can
end,
you elaborate
like,
on that a little bit more?
Sure. Like, bro, I mean, like in voting. So when I went to go vote in Chicago, I live across from a public library, and so Chicago, Illinois, and I don't want to turn this into a political podcast, but like is great in that you can basically just show up and vote. Like you cast a provisional ballot. They do like whatever check they need to do on the background, but they're like, yep, you're here. I was like, I have all this mail and ID and whatever, and I hope I'm not misremembering this. Like, nope, just fill out this form. Like, we'll go through the DMV or whatever and confirm that you're registered, whatever, and then you can vote. And I think that's great, and I think that's the way it kind of should be. But like Brazil is kind of this crazy mishmash where voting is compulsory. So for those of you who don't know, that word means you have to do it. So you have to vote. You don't have to like vote for anyone, but you have to show up and put a ballot into the box.
So it could be completely blank, like they don't care?
Yeah, but you have to show up. And then like not only do you have to do that, like you have to have like I have a card that is like my voter registration card that was like a huge pain in the ass to get. And then you have to, for like all these government functions, you have to show proof that you have voted in the previous elections. Otherwise, it's just like, you know, like imagine going to like DMV, but like if the IBJJF ran the DMV, right? And it's like, you know, I mean, like that's what the whole experience is like there. But like it's also very similar where like if the IBJJF is like a perfectly run tournament, provided like nothing goes wrong. If you like have your registration card, if you show up on time, if you make weight, like they know down to the mat, like where you are going to be, right?
Right.
Like it's perfect. But if you get outside of that, oh boy, right? Like then like that's when like the bureaucratic machine doesn't like know what to do with you. And like the country runs the same way. Like you cannot, like I showed up to vote in that election in Chicago like the day of, right? Like I just basically just looked up online and waltzed across the street and they're like, cool. Brazil locks in your registration of where you can vote. Maybe they don't do this in the country, but for those of us who vote outside of the country, because you still have to vote outside the country, they lock in the registration polls 6 months beforehand. Like wait. 6 months. Like I cannot register to vote within 6 months of an election. So like this was a thing that bit me in the ass because I moved here and didn't change my registration to vote in the Chicago Brazilian consulate. And so they were like, oh no, it's like within 6 months of election, we can't move it. And like they know who's going to vote in Chicago. They know what machine you are going to vote at. Like you go in and they route you to like a specific machine that you have been like registered to vote on. Right? It's that level of like organization.
With the time and everything?
Like, you know, it's that day.
You're on Mac 12 at 3 p.m.
3:34 this machine.
But like you're on the right track. Like, you know, I remember when I had to go get like this original voter registration card, I gave them all of this stuff. And I'll never forget this. They take all my forms and my photos and they paperclip it, right? And they open up this little like, you know, box where they store all these. And all of them had the paperclip in the exact same place. Like they were all lined up, like in the upper left-hand corner was the photo and there was the paperclip and they were all perfectly aligned. And to their credit, they took all those forms and they shipped them to another country and they came back 7 days later and I had my thing. Like if you go through
sounds like amazing to me.
It's amazing.
I'm on board for that shit.
Well, right.
But
it's amazing when it works.
When it works,
Yes.
because I had another form that they put it in the wrong place and it took them a year and a half to find it.
Holy fuck.
Right, so like this is the kind of like the world that like of course the IBJJF is run this way because like that feels totally normal.
Because
to,
that's
like,
Brazil.
That's
in
Brazil,
a nutshell.
exactly.
Interesting.
Right? They've recreated that perfectly.
Interesting. That's
Yeah.
fascinating. If you don't vote in the election, does something happen to you?
So this is not exactly clear to me. So like you have to
Because you haven't fucked up that much
No,
yet?
I did fuck it up, but like
Okay.
there's an online and again like this is very Brazilian, will maybe resonate with some folks. Like you have to go online and there's like an online thing where you can request like a
Extension?
No, not an extension. An excuse, like basically like I wasn't there, my bad, like for this reason, right? Like it's kind of like the jury duty thing,
okay.
right? And so like, yeah, fill out this form like saying why you weren't there, but like nowhere does it say what is an acceptable thing. Like it's just like, yeah, whatever your excuse is. Like, well, what are the acceptable excuses I can do? And like I'd filled out all these forms, and this is kind of like on the edge of like my Portuguese ability because these are like legal forms with like very specific terms and like semi-legal language, like explaining like what you have to do. So I kind of like rolled the dice and okay. And I think later, like I might be wrong on this. Maybe someone will call me on this, but I think the fine, because like Brazil is like a country that has a large impoverished population. I think you can't have like a ridiculous fine for all these people because just no one would pay it. So I think the fine is like 75 cents. Like I think I did like hours and hours of work to eventually discover it's like, oh, I could just pay like this very tiny fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Jeez. So what can we circle back to what you wanted to talk about earlier?
The club?
Yeah, the club, because we didn't talk anything
Sure,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So can you
Yeah, so how did that come up, actually?
Right.
Yeah. So I used to work in when I lived in Baltimore. I worked at an institute on the Johns Hopkins campus,
And you were in school at the time?
No, I was working.
You were okay. Just
Yeah,
already.
and so I could use the Johns Hopkins gym, and I knew they had a jiu-jitsu club there, and so I trained with them maybe like once a semester. And so one day I was in the weight room, and I saw. I mean, surprise, right? Like, look at me, you wouldn't think, but like I had been in a weight
you're
room.
a big
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, exactly.
We
Right.
understand.
I just assumed you're on an exercise bike.
Yeah, I was looking for the cardio room. I got
Yeah,
lost.
there we go.
And so I saw the guy who knew was in the club, and I went over and said hello. And I was kind of starting to shoot shit. He's like, you should come by and train again. I was like, yeah, it'd be awesome when you guys train. He's like, oh, we train tomorrow. I was like, yeah, actually, you know what? Yeah, I want to mix things up. I'll come out tomorrow. And I was like, who's teaching? He's like, actually, it's just, me. Like, I'm a white belt, but I've done like some MMA type stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, I mean, like, I'm a blue belt. I've been training for like, 4 years now. Like, I could help show some stuff sometime if you want. And he's like, yeah, that'd be awesome. Do you want to teach class tomorrow? I was like, yeah, sure. That would be cool. I was like, actually, do you just want to be our coach? And I was like, yeah, sure. Yeah, that's cool. I'll coach the club. He's like, awesome. We can pay you. I think several people now have just like slammed their phones into the sidewalk hearing this story, like just completely fell back afterwards into it. And
That's so
it was
crazy.
a super, like, I'm incredibly fortunate because I got to run a jiu-jitsu club for 4 years. I got to get paid for it, like through the funding that the club got from the university. I only had to teach 3 days a week, so I could still have like my own my own practice. And like, this wasn't like, because like a lot of people want to do this, but it's either like you like want to teach jiu-jitsu as you get more into it, but you either have to be under a under someone else and they're kind of studying the curriculum, or like you have to like take that big financial gamble and like open your own place, and now you have to teach every single day.
Right.
Whereas like I got like this almost impossible experience to kind of get the best of all those worlds.
Right.
So it was an awesome experience. And when I started, it was weird, right? It was 2 or 3 dudes in t-shirts, and then like me trying to teach them jiu-jitsu, and like
You in a gi?
No gi?
it doesn't matter, right? Like this is the thing. It's like when someone comes into like an established jiu-jitsu school, this shit looks badass, right? Like everyone is like sweaty and like, calloused up and like doing all these advanced techniques, and like there's all these people they can learn from. When you're starting from scratch, it's just like 2 dudes in t-shirts and you. And like you're trying to show them this stuff, and like they have no base, they have no idea what they're doing. So you're trying to show them something that like that's supposed to be cool, but they're just like falling over.
Yeah.
And it like people are walking by in the hallway, and it just like it doesn't look legit at all. Like
What is that? What is that falling over thing? Because but
it's the mind bullets, right? They
It's
think you're shooting
bizarre,
mind bullets.
right? It's
yeah.
like so weird because I get to roll with some newer students.
Yeah.
Manek always has me roll with them, and they just literally just fall over. I'm like, would this be normal on the street? Would you, if someone was to grab you, would you just fall over? Like just,
It's
Yes.
so far outside
so
the norm of what
bizarre.
you do day to day,
I
right? Like you don't
guess.
even. I mean, unless you've done some combat sport before.
but It's throughout. It's like every new person. They all do the exact same thing.
Right,
They all
except for the wrestler who comes in and is
except
like,
the
this,
wrestler,
this guy
right.
has shockingly good base.
Right,
He wrestled.
right.
Yeah.
But isn't it, so let's, if we were to scale this out, the majority of people on the street that you encounter on a daily basis, if you were to grab them, they would just fall down and they don't even know what they would do that. They'd be like, I'm just going to fall down because I have no idea
No, I
what
mean,
to do.
I think it's like because you're teaching them, they think like they don't know what to do.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
They're like, he pushed me in this direction and I don't really have my balance. And more importantly, I don't know how to regain my balance, so I'm going to fall over.
Is it because the mats are too soft?
No, what?
It's like, I'm just going to lay down on this nice soft mat. I'm just going to fall down. If we did it on concrete, do you think they'd still fall down?
Yes, and there would be a lot more injuries.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm teasing.
Yeah.
I just think it's just a weird. It's just something that I look at. I'm just like, that's odd. Stop falling down. Stop doing
and it's
that.
like it's weird because there's no like model. Like you can't point to like it just looks like dumb when you're just doing it on someone just flopping. And so like it took a while, and then you get this intermediate phase, which is not quite as awkward, but the next phase is like you'll get like 3 or 4 students that are coming consistently, and then like when people show up to these new classes, especially in college, they show up with their buddies. So you're like, oh great, like I can finally show a counter to something because people finally like know a thing, and then you get 3 new people, and you're like, okay,
oh, so much for that. Yeah.
So now we're gonna
Exactly.
do rear naked chokes again, right? But like it kept going with it, and like I got to the club did really well. Like by the time I left, we would get maybe like, up to like, I think the biggest class we had like 23 people.
Wow.
Normally you'd get like 10 or 12 folks in there. We promoted a lot of people, not through me, but through my instructors who would have come in pretty regularly, like promoted folks to blue belt. A couple people came in with experience and like they got their purple belts. And I look at the photos now, and like the club is still going. I passed it on to Maine, who's one of the hosts of the Grappling Rewind out in Baltimore. The club's still going, and they got like brown belts in there and stuff now. And like you'd have students who'd come in and transfer from other schools, and they'd be like, "Man, like I wish I had this in my last school. Like this is really great." And so it was a really fun opportunity.
Are
And
colleges the only institutions that do clubs like that? Are there high school jiu-jitsu clubs? Is that a thing?
Carter Laborio's down in Florida is building like a high school program, and they're like. So I only know about this because he's been on the Grappling Central podcast and talked to Ryan Ford about it. They're trying to basically like institute jiu-jitsu as a high school sport activity with inter high school competitions and stuff like that. I don't know how far along it is. So yes, there are people trying it. Other than him, I haven't really heard of anyone getting even that far with it.
I mean, has because when I went to high school, it was just the major sports. But has anyone ever introduced like MMA to high school? Is that because
that one sounds like a harder sell?
I don't disagree, but and we had I went to St. Joseph High School in Westchester. It was all boys school, and we had this brother there,
I hope this is going to be an old school Irish boxing club story.
So brother Peter, he would after whoever wanted to box, think you can fight. You would go down to where the wrestling was, in the basement, and you can box with Brother Peter. He was this.
You went to a private Catholic school in the 80s?
90s, early 90s.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. So people would like the big wrestlers and whomever would test their skills on Brother Peter. Now, Brother Peter,
this is called Fight Club,
Yeah.
right? And you're not supposed to talk about it.
Sorry. So he would basically beat the shit out of everybody. He'd wear these giant gloves, so you weren't really getting. I guess you're still getting hurt.
You're getting fucked up.
You're getting fucked up.
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm going to go ahead and say you can't do this anymore.
Yeah, you probably can't do it. But that was like a thing. Like it was like, oh fuck you, who can't? And his brother Peter would run. He looked like. Do you remember the Addams Family?
Dear God, I don't want to. Okay, yes, I do, but
okay, the bald guy, Uncle Fester.
He looked like Uncle Fester.
I was hoping to look like Wednesday Addams. But
No,
still
no,
beat the shit out of us.
like Uncle Fester, right? So he had that build, just mass, right? And he's got this big bald head
Like
and
Butterbean.
Like butter. No, he's not. He wasn't
Not
that.
that
He wasn't
big?
that fat. No. He was definitely taller and just wide all the way
Okay.
around. And he'd run downstairs, shaking his head, just running, just slow jog, just running. You see him through all the halls downstairs, and then you just hear about him just fucking people up with boxing. Like you could just.
So did you ever go down there and do it?
Absolutely not. I was like 110 pounds. Who the fuck am I gonna do, Brother Peter? No, but it was just interesting, and I'm just wondering, like, well. Now with the UFC being so huge and ESPN and all this stuff, are they now introducing type of MMA to high schools or
No. Like
Why?
because
Why not?
We can barely keep wrestling in the programs.
I mean, like no, like from like a risk and insurance point of view, like no principal has any incentive or school district has any incentive to say yes to that, right? Like it's never going to be like a high school like championship sport. Like no one's going to go state in MMA, right? Like no school is going to want to take on the risk of like, yeah, you guys can like punch each other, right?
Right.
I mean, and that was a thing at Hopkins too, where like we were allowed to jiu-jitsu, but like you couldn't have an
strikes.
MMA club,
Right.
For that reason, because they're just like, no, that's like like you can't hit each other, right?
But in high school and in college, they have hockey.
Well,
And
I mean-
do they have hockey fights?
But they're hockey clubs. They're not. For the
they're
most
clubs.
part,
They're not part of the.
maybe in like the northern states, like
But do
Maine
they fight?
or
Do they
Minnesota.
fight like they do in the NHL? Do they fight
No,
in
they
the
have-
lower
they have
ones?
diff-
Is that part of the culture?
I've heard different things about. I'm thinking like way back, but like there are different like rule sets where like sometimes it'll be like more rough and tumble and fighting, and then other things are more like would maybe like more like the international rules where
I
like
mean,
it's more passing. And
John
stuff.
Mejia
Exactly.
was an enforcer.
Exactly.
Like,
And
he absolutely got into fist fights in.
That was just. And it was college or high school?
Man, I'd have to ask him to clarify where all that happened, but yeah, I think so.
I think this was a
High school.
club of high schoolers, right?
Yeah.
It would, not a high school club.
Okay. Man.
Now, here's the thing. So I know like College DuPage, UIC,
Mm-hmm.
like a bunch of the local colleges do have other martial arts that they teach, like Aikido, Jiu-Jitsu. UIC has like a ton of different. I don't even know all the ones, or at least they used to. I guess that could have changed. But so. And a lot of those are actually striking arts, but I don't know what kind of limitations they have on what they can do, and I don't know what the liabilities are.
I think you're restricted by how well the random person who is like the liaison basically understands what you're doing, right? So there's actually a funny story about this where like we had like our like the person who had kind of administered all these clubs and like
the athletic
whatever coordinator, like club
Right.
sport coordinator, whatever, come in. And he had to like give every club like a no hazing speech, whatever. Like you can't have any initiation, which is kind of funny because the whole sport of jiu-jitsu is kind of a giant hazing, right? And so he came in and was, gave us a spiel, and then like either before or after, he just basically started talking about like, oh, like I used to do jiu-jitsu for a minute, and like I loved the UFC, and like went to the UFC, and like it was like shooting the shit with him about him, and he left, and I started yelling at my students. I was like, what the F is the wrong with you guys? Like the person who controls our mat time, our finances, our everything, like is like a fan of MMA and jiu-jitsu. How have you guys not milked this yet? Like, why do we not have like
all the things?
Like guys, come on, get like this is you never have an in with jiu-jitsu. Like everywhere else in your life, we were talking about this last week, is like karate, right? You found like someone who is actually like a fan and thinks this stuff is cool. Like, guys, you gotta ride that. We gotta get like custom embroidered gis and stuff. What's going on?
Yeah.
Did you get
gis?
Yeah.
I mean, we did gi stuff. We did gi, no gi. We ordered some shirts. I think after I left, I might have ordered like some rash guards and stuff. But the shirt we had was pretty funny. They someone had made it before I got there, but it was just like their mascot is a blue jay, and so if you looked at it, like it was just a blue jay doing jiu-jitsu, but if you kind of looked at it, it was actually like a blue jay kneeling on someone's like back, like pulling their arms like back behind them, like wrestling, like
some quality
big
pro
bull,
wrestling.
like big bull, like pro wrestling. But then you look at it a little bit more, you're like, why does the blue jay have teeth? And why does the person on the ground only have one arm and one leg? Like, why is there a carnivorous blue jay beating up like a double amputee? Like, who designed this shirt?
Clearly a terrible person.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, I mean, this close to buying a new gi the other day. I was
4 minutes ago.
No,
Well, you were telling some dumb story. I was on my phone there.
no, I get in these moods where I'm like, oh man, I need a new gi, and then
How many are you at now?
all of them.
I got a lot. So, but then I've started Googling like, oh, I want this type of brand. I wanted something different. So I wanted to try like Moya brand. They really don't have anything that I aesthetically like.
Hyperfly's got a new gi that one of my training partners got, and I'm like, ooh, I might need that. Yeah, that's how they get you.
Then I was looking at a Shoyo roll. I'm like, oh, Shoyo's got some. Let me see what Gi Hoarder has on his website. So I go to gihoarder.com and I'm
wait, gihoarder.com? This is a thing?
Just let him go. Just let him go.
Gihoarder.com, yeah. So he's, I think I bought a couple gis from him in the past.
Is this like a secondary market thing? Or
This is a guy who basically goes to like, let's just say like, he gets like.
Is he sponsoring this podcast? Should
Not
we
at
even
all.
be talking about this?
No, we shouldn't. His gis are ridiculously expensive because he's one that he goes like first premiere or only in California release or only in Japan release for Shoyo Roll for all these like off. He's got the illest gis. He's got all those different weird brands. So anyway, he's got the murdered Shoyo Roll in-person release from California 2018. Murdered. It's the all black. Right?
I know what murdered
Yeah,
means.
yeah, thanks.
He was explaining.
Maybe
I
some
don't
people
listen to
don't.
that much DMX to not know what murdered
Okay,
means.
it's
All right,
important.
cool.
So it's murdered out. So I'm like, oh man, that is, and he's got it. Now he doesn't have an every size. So this particular gi he had in my size. I'm like, what the fuck? It's fate. It's late at night, and I'm like, I gotta get this gi. So I look at the price. I'm like, that's stupid. I cannot. This is not happening. And I'm like,
You're going to buy it and frame it and never wear it?
right
At that price? Yeah.
The guy's charging $795. Okay, I know. Sounds
I
ridiculous.
forgot I'm on a podcast and I can't just make facial expressions here. Like,
Yeah.
bro, what the fuck?
Right, exactly.
Like I didn't realize that gi collecting had gotten like to quasi sneakerhead levels.
But just to put out there, that's not the most expensive gi on his site. He's got skis for $1,300 on his site. Okay,
I
don't know
even
who's
fathom.
buying these gis.
Yeah, no, I can't
I don't
fathom.
know. However, I'm seriously thinking of buying this gi. So then I email him because anyway. We've talked in the past.
Of course you have.
I emailed him. He emails me back, dude. I get you for $750, no problem. I'm like, all right.
Oh,
that's
deal.
a
Wait.
fucking
That's
deal.
a steal.
What was it? I've already
It was at
repressed the memory.
It was
What
at
the beginning?
$795. He's like, dude, if you do this and then just $750,
He got you $45 off.
$45 off. And I'm thinking to myself, it's
That gi with shipping from Pakistan was like $45.
right, exactly. So I'm like, all right, this. Okay, should I buy this? $750. That makes sense. He gave me a deal. I feel like I got. So I'm like, I don't know.
Can the listening audience hear me shake my head right now?
I know it's bad. It's
like,
bad. But
bro.
this is where I'm like, I haven't really bought myself something in a long time.
Oh,
It's
you
been
gotta
a
treat
while.
yourself, yeah,
I'm
okay.
like, I mean, I deserve it in some weird.
It's almost
way.
You don't
Father's
deserve
Day.
it.
I don't
yeah,
at
just-
all, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, let me just sleep on it and see how I feel in the morning. And so I just put off the side and I woke up and I'm like, what the fuck am I thinking? Why do I need another fucking gi and
Let
B,
alone
a
one that-
$750 gi that says show your roll, it's murdered out, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything to me. So I just took that $750 I was going to spend and I put it away in my savings account. So
I've never said this before. I will likely never say it again. You did good.
thank you. Yeah, so that's what I did. I did not get the gi. I like Gi Hoarder, and he's an awesome dude, and he does cool shit with getting gis. But that was a little, yeah,
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah,
It's weird because it is like a designer fashion thing.
Yeah.
Which like I get in the sense that like that's cool. If you want to spend your money, like at a certain point, I'm actually not going to make fun of you for it. But it's also like a gi, right? So it's like
Yeah, I'm gonna do my best.
it was
to-
like be getting Yeezys, but you're actually going to run a marathon in them, right? Like it's this weird intersection of like I'm going to buy this cool thing, but I'm actually going to trash it. Like there's going to be like blood and sweat and like I don't know various fungi and
right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
I don't get it at all.
no,
like I really,
don't. No,
I don't.
No.
I still, because like in judo, it's not uncommon, especially when you start off. Like you don't need to buy some super high performance competition gi. You buy like a $40
Unbleached,
gi from but like
yeah, it's not like a normal like.
I don't care if it has magic powers. It's not
Right,
Like,
no, what I'm
it
saying
better
is-
block bullets. It better be John Wick
Right.
level
Right,
materials
right.
that we're talking here.
Speaking of magic powers here, do you wash your belt?
No. What are you talking about? How would I retain my knowledge of the art if I were to wash my belt?
That's why I got you today, Zito. Like, you've been kicking my butt for weeks, but you washed your belt. Whereas my belt has just been absorbing these magical properties. My belt has learned. Yeah, I didn't stutter. Staff is magic as far as I'm concerned.
I wash my belt every day, every class, after every class. Absolutely, I have to wash my belt. I can't not do it. I don't know how people don't do it.
It is a correct practice.
Yes. Oh yeah, it's disgusting. I tell everyone they should wash their belt. And they're like, "Do you do it?" No. But I mean, like, you should. Like, it's a piece of fabric. Why would you not wash it? That's disgusting. Absolutely. Wash your belt. Why don't you do it? I don't know. I might get worse. I can't take that risk. I can't take that risk with my training partners that I might get worse by washing my belt. It's just, I'm not a superstitious guy, but I can't.
You're allowed your one superstition, and this is it.
Yeah.
No, wash your belt, guys. Wash it, please. Please wash your belts.
I've had lengthy conversations on this one in the past. I'm surprised how strangely divided the community is on it, actually.
Very divided.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know.
It is the weirdest superstition that I've run into.
Yeah. That's still going, and we're in 2019 and it's still going on. It's like, okay, no. Wash your fucking wash your belts.
I kind of want to know where that started. How did that start?
Probably in Brazil.
We're going to blame Brazil?
Like you point, now we have our scapegoat here.
Yeah, we have the guy.
Well, you have to understand, in Brazil, no one like leather belts, you don't wash those either. So like I think it just kind of transferred over.
Well,
it's possible.
So let me ask you this. So I've had this observation been made before, and it seems weird to me, based on the description of how average dude seems to train in Brazil. Mm-hmm. It sounds like the entire country should be just rife with ringworm and staph, okay? Because it seems that a lot of guys don't have more than one gi, okay, or more than a couple gis. They travel to their club, they bring the gi, they work out, afternoon class or whatever, put the gi out to dry. Not going to get washed, just put it out to dry.
Yeah, we were talking about this last time, yeah.
Yeah, and then, go back and this story has been repeated to me by quite a few people who have been down to Brazil, that's just the norm. And I've also been told, like, nobody really seems to have ringworm down there. I'm like, really? Because that seems like those combination of factors would really cause issues.
So I guess, I mean, I have no idea, and I'm now just going to pull some science out of my butt here, right? Like, so if they wash the mats frequently, right? And if you wash your gi, like, every time you train, which I think is still kind of the norm down there, then I think it's fine, because I don't think like ringworm is just going to like pop. It's there, right? Like it's you've got that window of like we'll call it the length of a training day where like you show up, you train, you eat, you train again. Like it's not just going to magically like be rife with ringworm, and then you go. They wipe down the mats, of course, and then you wash your gi, and then maybe I have no idea. I'm purely guessing. I don't know what answer you thought I was going to give there. It could be like, because in Portuguese language we don't have the word for ringworm.
And that's why it doesn't exist.
That's why you can't get it.
Yeah. No, I was more leading to like you've trained down in Brazil.
Yeah, I've trained.
You've never like been like, oh man, this place is rife with ringworm.
No, right? I've trained it at Cicero's. I've trained my cousin as a black belt on their GF team. So he's got a school in Rio. He trains with Arthur Cesar Gogo is his nickname in Cascadura, and so I've been on train there. And no one seemed to have ringworm. They wipe the mats. I think that's I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, of course.
Most likely, yeah.
It's very important.
And I mean, like if you don't wash your gi, you're also going to stink, and I think people are going to.
Nobody
like,
wants to stink.
Yeah, like dude, go wash your fucking gi. You smell.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, fuck that. I can't stand while I'm with someone who smells. Drives me fucking crazy.
Especially when they're on top, smothering your guard and just smashing like a dirty armpit in your face.
That doesn't happen. If they smell, they're not coming.
They're not
close
rolling with
me.
you.
Fuck. I'm choking you from afar, arm barring you. I'm not getting.
That's an interesting technique you have there. Yeah, like you literally strangled the guy.
I strangled him from afar. Yeah.
So reaching out with your hands.
Speaking of divisive stuff here, things I want to ask you. It's like you said you teach when you teach. Javi, you teach a. Or actually, funny side story here. I was talking to Maine from Grappling Rewind, and he was like, "Hey man, I really enjoyed the show last time, except like I can't tell your Chicago accents apart." He's like, "I can't tell who's speaking."
We all sound the same
to him. Like he just like I can't tell who's speaking. I have to tell from context. But you were talking about when you teach your kind of stand up class. Like, do you like the jiu-jitsu community? I feel like is kind of divided in this. Like, when you should teach takedowns, what takedowns you should teach? Should you teach judo? Like, how much do you teach? Like, what do you?
All right, so
let's poke that bear.
Yeah, that's an interesting bear to poke.
One other water?
Yeah, please.
So here's the way I look at it. Just maybe people pick this up from the way I talk about like footlocks and everything. I want to start everyone off early. Okay. I think jiu-jitsu as a general rule, because so many people start in either both people on the knees or one guy on his butt, one guy, on his knees, combat base, whatever. Like, it's super common to be able to go and do a lot of jiu-jitsu and never actually have to learn how to do takedowns.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to pass guard. You have to learn how to play guard, but you can get in a situation where you don't actually need to know how to do a takedown because your typical practice doesn't include any work from the feet.
Sure.
And that really bothers me personally.
So does it bother you personally, or do you think there's like a fundamental, like tactical training, educational flaw here?
Both. So one, I guess if your whole objective in life is for jiu-jitsu is to go to class and just get better at doing that thing that you do at class, and that's the end all be all of your training, that's
Which
cool.
it is for
a lot of people.
like half, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It may be significantly more than that, honestly.
Well, what percentage of a school do you think actually does tournaments?
But that's not it, though, because
Okay.
I feel like you should at least have some takedown knowledge if you're in it for self-defense, if you're in it for actual fighting, if you're in it for tournament purposes. Okay? And, like, even if your game is predominantly like, I want to pull and sweep, you still need at least enough stand-up that you don't get thrown, like, off the go, or that somebody doesn't run you up on a single leg and get your points there.
Right.
So, like, you still need that stuff in some capacity, even if you're, a very skillful bottom player. For me, like, I want to be a complete grappler, a complete martial artist. Not doing takedowns just does not compute in my personal goals.
So do you teach then like wrestling, like pure wrestling, or do you have like some modified jiu-jitsu version?
Yeah,
you
yeah.
teach?
So very much not pure wrestling. There's a lot of things that need to be adjusted for submissions.
Yeah.
I wrestled a bit in high school, not at a very high level. I totally sucked. But then all my wrestling came afterwards.
Yeah.
And it was always in a submission context. So judo, submission context, sambo, jiu-jitsu, submission context, catch wrestling, submission context. So everything is filtered through, don't do this because that type thinking. I teach takedowns early on because I feel it's something you need to know. Even if you eventually develop your style away from that, you should at least know it. And I work it more at certain clubs because of the freedoms I'm allowed at those clubs.
Right.
If I'm teaching in a school that actually doesn't do a lot of takedowns for some reason, whether that's space limitations or coach's preference or whatever, I'll focus on it less and kind of follow the culture. But for the most part, yeah, like at LCCT, for example, we do wrestling rounds before we even start the technique of the day. It's like just part of the warm-ups frequently. At Deerfield, we're doing a lot of sambo-based work, so the takedowns are really important. Now, the thing that I want to clarify there, though, is like I'm not going to take like a day one student and like hip toss him and just be like, good luck. Like they've got to be guided through how to take a fall. Not necessarily full on break falls, because that can the ukemi that we do in judo is it's more important for the fact that we're going to be doing lots and lots and lots and lots of repetitions of taking falls, and it greatly reduces the strain on the body. Yeah. If I'm teaching somebody how to wrestle and not get scored on, I don't want to be like, okay, and this is how you break fall, but don't actually do that in a tournament. Like there's a cognitive dissonance there.
So what is your like? Because I know you're looking to open up a school and stuff like that, and that's what's in your future. But you do so many styles. How many, like, what is your class? Like, have you thought about, like, what are you going to do, like, class-wise, like, putting together certain classes? It's not just like, okay, this is sambo class, this is a jiu-jitsu class, this is a wrestling class.
That's really interesting.
Like, how are you, because you're an amazing instructor, and I know I've learned a lot from you, just in, what we've
Thank you.
been able to work with.
How am I going to compartmentalize that?
How do you because
Yeah, like,
there's
what
only
are they-
certain
what were
there's
your
only
students
certain
even signing up for?
What are they signing up for?
Is this grappling?
Yeah, well, okay, so there are some complicating factors there. So
Yeah.
so like without getting super specific and
Don't
whatnot.
get super. Just
Right. Well, no,
Cedar's like, I actually don't care about the answer. I'm just being polite.
right. I'm just trying to make conversation
Right.
on a different topic for no good reason.
Javi tends to go off. On
Yeah, I'm
tangents.
going to try not to do that.
Okay.
So
Don't, because I want to talk more about wrestling. So yeah,
Right.
we'll bring it back.
I want to teach people a very complete game.
Yeah.
Okay, which means being able to take a fight, a match, whatever, from the feet to the ground.
Yep.
And that's got to be integrated from day one.
So you're let's just put out there like 5 o'clock class, 6 o'clock class, 7 o'clock class. Those classes are going to be just you're just going to put all that together in one class. You're not going to compartmentalize the classes. Like this is a judo class. We're only doing throws.
No,
This is
I will allow. Well, I would never teach judo with only throws. That's not my style. But I will somewhat
Oh, so you would
compartmentalize.
teach the judo rule specific groundwork as opposed
Right. See,
to like
that's the thing. Like, I'm going to teach technique, and then I'm going to give you the context under which it would be used in a given sport.
I see.
Okay. Like, I'm
in,
not going
in
to
your general class.
right.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
there may be classes that I'll allow, like, hey, it's Sambo Sunday or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
like where we work a theme.
Don't get cheesy, please.
No,
I love
Sambo
cheesy.
Sambo Sunday is Sunday. Also, because like my impression of Sambo is like the only things I ever see in Sambo are like lightning fast throws, super scary looking leg locks, and really fast arm bars. It's just like the whole sport is like 16-year-old Russians like explosively attacking each other, and it looks so sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not an inaccurate description, actually.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Right. Sweet.
It's a very, very fast-paced sport for the most part. But yeah, so there may be days where we're going to focus in on a particular rule set,
Yeah.
particular style of play. But for the most part, the idea is to integrate it as much as possible. I may totally steal an idea from Jeff Serafin where we will bounce between gi and
I was
no
just going
gi.
to ask you that too.
Yeah, because I absolutely
Like in one class? Or
No.
oh.
Like Serafin does it where it's like this week we're doing all gi, next week will be all
okay,
no
that's
gi,
interesting, yeah.
because he found that certain students would skip no gi night
Yeah.
to only do gi, or
Yeah.
I guess maybe vice versa it happened.
Yeah, of
but
course.
regardless, so his plan was, well, we're going to do it in a week because nobody's going to skip a whole week of training.
Oh, that's
Just be,
interesting.
and that forces them to have
learn,
a very diverse game in that way. And I may totally steal that, or I may just be do what feels natural, which is like this is the no gi class, this is the gi class. As is my gi game is actually not that different from my no gi game. Obviously, couple of collar grips, couple of sleeve grips, and whatnot. But I'm not a big like I don't play worm guard, for example. Right. So yeah, my intention is to teach it kind of all at once. I oftentimes explain in class when I'm teaching something like the competition format that a certain technique is most appropriate for, and then I'll show modifications and go like here's how I would do it in this rules format where we only have this much time or whatnot. So I always want my students to know kind of like the origin of stuff. Personally, that's important to me. But I am mostly focused on producing results and making complete martial artists.
Are you also going to look to start a gym or
Fuck no.
teach? No?
What?
Not your thing?
No. I mean,
you started teaching.
yeah,
at blue
no.
belt.
So
You're
I think
a brown
I mean,
belt now.
Yeah, so
He's learned from that experience.
well, no, like like so I was saying I was very lucky in that I got to coach for 4 years, but in this very like limited and very freeform way where I had total control.
Yeah.
It was only 3 nights a week, and like you start to realize what it means to like have to be teaching every night, right? And like, and it's just I think I enjoy helping people. Like I don't like to be like make coaching and teaching about me being in the spotlight. I was very big on when I taught my students. Like I had a lot of the brown belts, the black belts, the pro MMA fighters we had at Baltimore BJJ come up in on a monthly level because I wanted them to understand that like I was on a continuum, right? That like I didn't want to have this weird cult thing where like, you know, they thought I was the end all and be all of jiu-jitsu. I wanted them to see people come in and beat my ass and be like, okay, like there's levels to this game. Like there's a whole, like we're all kind of still working on improving stuff. And like, that was cool. But there's honestly, there's a lot of good jiu-jitsu already here, right? I live downtown, I live in Pilsen. So I'm right near Jeff's place, BJJX Yoga, that you guys had him on 2 episodes ago. Fumasa's school is right over in Bronzeville. And, you know, and then there's just a ton of schools in the center of the city. And it's just like, I don't think I have much value to add to that in terms of like opening my own school. Like, I think what you're talking about doing is cool because I think that would be unique. I don't think there's many other schools that are that, and I apologize if I just missed this, like are really focused on like, look, I've done Sambo, I've done catch wrestling, I've done judo, I've done like BJJ, and I want to bring this kind of complete grappling.
It's very
idea.
diverse. I mean, Javi's he's just got that wealth.
And I think that's cool. And I think
right.
people will, there will be some, like, not to make this totally business, but like there will be some market for that.
It's
I think
a different
that's
market.
Cool.
Kinda,
Yeah. I think that's cool. And like, you know, when I was coaching, I kind of had a similar outlook. Like my desired outcome, because like I only have these students for 4 years and they're only there for half the year, right?
Right.
So it's, you know, you can kind of get them to the blue belt level and not much else, assuming they start day one with you. Right. And so my thing was like, when I left, I wanted them, if they chose to continue, and I was always big on like, you know, like if you guys don't continue with jiu-jitsu, like that's fine. This doesn't have to be a lifestyle. Like anyone's first day, we always gave them a round of applause. That was kind of a thing we did. We're like, thanks for coming out. You never have to come back. But like, congratulations, you made it through your first jiu-jitsu class. That's a milestone. Yeah. Like, and so like wherever they went afterwards, if they chose to keep training, I wanted them to be solid, right? Like if they go to a school that was like MMA focused, that was sport jiu-jitsu focused, that was maybe more just like integrated grappling like you were doing, like I wanted them to have like a foothold in there, so to speak, right? Like I didn't want my students to like have never seen, you know, sumigaishi, never have seen an ankle pick, never have seen, I don't know, maybe not ankle pick, but never seen like a double leg, right? Like really basic stuff. I never wanted them to have a blue belt with an asterisk next to it. So I was very slow to promote. I was the promotions always came from, and I always talked to my instructors, Lee and Monroe, about this of like, hey, I think this student is ready for his blue belt, but it's up to you, right? Like it was very much like, and I made sure my students know, like these belts come from my instructors, not from me. Like I am, you know, like there's a continuum. I'm not at the top yet. Like I'm happy to teach here, but like, you know, there's a whole world out there. And so we taught, you know, I don't have a formal training in judo, but like I got like enough influence from my Aikido and like YouTube to be able to figure out, you know, just to show them like, you know, white belt judo and like wrestling. And again, mostly from videos and like classes, and like just wanted to give them like the orientation there to like, you know, like, hey, look, like you can't just go like, Uchimata is not you leg curling someone through the ceiling. Like if you can just like go up to someone and pick them up with your hamstring, you're fighting a child and you should feel shitty about yourself. Like you have to.
That kid had it coming.
Yeah, exactly. Like you have to get some kazushi there. You have to get them off balance. Like you're really tipping them, and then the leg just kind of completes the throw. And like if someone can like bring that into their next school, like I feel good. Like I feel like that's like what's well rounded to me. But,
so what's in the future for you after you get your black belt? You're just gonna get your black belt and then just keep training? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, that is what I'm thinking. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think the other thing I'll say though is like I like about this thing about teaching like takedowns and stuff. Like I really had to commit to it. Like we would spend like a third of the class doing judo or wrestling if it's gi or no gi, because I feel like the thing that I think doesn't work that I think a lot of schools do is like, you know, we're going to do our 5 minutes of judo, we're going to do our 5 minutes of wrestling. And like respectfully, like I think that is how people get hurt. I think like
no, I agree.
Yeah, I think like you need to like kind of commit to this, like, you know, like we're actually going to focus on takedowns, because I think the thing that I noticed, and this is something I noticed with myself too, is like when you're and we'll just focus on wrestling because I'm much more interested in wrestling these days. Especially at my weight category, like judo, I don't feel like judo is really useful. Like you're just not going to get someone at 149 pounds who wants to like stand on your feet really like that in the gi very often. Is like jiu-jitsu guys, like when it comes to like wrestling, they don't. It's like they kind of don't get it, so to speak. Like they know, like, you know, the John Danaher thing of like, fuck it, try a leg lock.
Yep.
Like I feel like it's just like, fuck it, try a double leg, right? It's like you grip up, like, oh, they're blocking my whatever. Okay, well, fuck it, try a double leg, right? And like there's like no, like I feel like you get so like we do a really good job in jiu-jitsu on the ground of like setting things up and being like, there's a guard, and like philosophically their legs are between you, and that's advantageous. So we want to get around that. There's like context and structure to it. But like when we get to the feet, it's just like, well, here's a single leg, and like, and then you do a dump finish, and there's no concept of like fundamentally just trying to knock this guy over. So like if you get that single leg, just fucking charge him towards the wall, right? Like, or like if he is standing there square with his hands at his shoulder height, you actually don't have to level change. Just go through him and knock him over. And like, and I feel like that's kind of the useful stuff to me. And like one of the reasons I've gotten more and more into wrestling, like I try to work out with the Chicago Wrestling Club that meets at Hope Academy on Sundays when I can, I have the energy, like, because I realized like at the higher and higher level, like all these like sweeps and like passes just turn into scrambles. Like no one who's like well rested is going to be like, well, you got the knee cut. Like they're going to turn over and they're going to drive into you really hard. And so this is the thing I think is the most useful about wrestling. If you know like how to like what that underhook is like really for, or like what that crossface is really for, what that head positioning is really for, like then you're going to win those scrambles. And I feel like when you don't, like they're just going to like scoot to the side and ankle pick you. Right. And so like that's the thing that I think like is most useful for wrestling. It's not like, well, today we're going to do fireman's carries, right? Or today, like we're going to do like your third setup to like double legs, even though you don't know how to like, grip fight. Right. It's like, if you can learn like kind of get this idea in your head of like, oh, I'm knocking this person over, and there's certain like structural positions that make this easier. The same way we have that concept on the ground of like, oh, mount is structurally better, like head on the inside is structurally better. Then all of a sudden, like I feel like you're going to get more of your sweeps and your passes, because in those scrambles you're just going to be like, oh, like I just put my head next to your ear or your forehead and push, and like suddenly you can't scramble out of this.
Right. No, and I think that's all good, valid, and valuable stuff, and I think most people miss a lot of that context.
Yeah. I feel like you can have, if you have not, I joke about this, that like wrestling is like 2 free points. If you have not shitty wrestling, like you don't have to have good wrestling. I do not have good wrestling, right? But like I have not shitty wrestling. And like that's basically 2 free points.
Right. Because you can make it look like that guy's guard pull is your takedown, or you can actually take him down.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's 2 free points. Yeah. But you have to, you can't do it 5 minutes, 5 minutes every other week. And, if schools do that, like, don't, like, that's cool. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's lots of different ways to teach. There's lots of different objectives.
I'll say it. I feel like the 5 minutes a week is probably what's going to cause the injuries that people in this community constantly talk about as, takedowns are so dangerous. Like, if you're not doing it regularly, you're not going to develop comfort with it. I can't even imagine what it would be like if I was just like, you know what, guys, for 5 minutes a week, we're going to work our flying triangle. And then
I can actually imagine what that would be like.
That sounds terrible, right?
It sounds like I'd want to see a video of it, right?
Yes. Like, on America's Funniest Home Videos.
Yeah.
Like there's certain things that either because they require athleticism or they just require repetition, you're going to need to give it a little bit more time. Not to make this all about judo, but like if you look at like the writings of Kano, he actually talks about, and this is both his preference, but also his like observation of how people progress. He felt that the split between standing and ground, tachiwaza, newaza, basically had to be 70% on the feet, 30% on the ground. Mm-hmm. If you do more ground, people will tend to get very, very comfortable being there and underdevelop their standing skills. It was also like, because you're fighting gravity and your own sense of balance so much more when you're upright, it tends to take longer to get better at stand-up in many contexts than it will to get good at something similar on the ground. Like here's like a white belt throwing technique. Here's a white belt, sweep technique. Mm-hmm. Average human being, average athleticism. We teach them both at the same time. We give them the exact same amount of time. most people are going to get proficient at that sweep from guard easier because they have less factors to worry about.
That's true. Yeah.
They're predominantly focused on breaking their opponent's balance with the move, and they don't have to worry about retaining their own balance.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. But on the feet, obviously, those are both concerns, and it's going to take more effort to get to a similar level of proficiency.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So that's why that traditionally speaking. That's why judo has always had more emphasis time-wise. There's some cultural stuff that goes into it too, but more emphasis time-wise on the stand-up game. Yeah. Even before we factor in the rules changes that have happened down through the years to make it a more appealing, air quotes, Olympic sport. So you look like you're about to say something, but then you didn't. So you really threw me off there.
Sorry. I was thinking about that. The whiteboard you guys were talking about. I was thinking about where I'm going to put that in this room. The glass board. I'm not putting.
I was zoning out while you dorks are talking about shit from standing. Like,
basically,
it's like none of this appeals to me.
Yeah, I'm not taking anyone down.
Because no amount of stand up you can do can stop me from pulling guard with lightning fast guard pulse.
That's true. So I was thinking about where am I? The glass board. I'm not calling it a whiteboard. Glass board. I was thinking about where I can put it in this room. I was actually thinking maybe I should put it behind the door there. Because when we close the door, I could move that photo out of the way, move it up or something.
For those of you who weren't listening in when we were talking about this with the mics off,
yes,
we were thinking that it would be cool to like have a whiteboard up with like a list of topics. Because one of the things that happened after last time, we were like, oh shit, like
we should have talked about
we should have talked about all this stuff, and like that's part of why you guys had me come back in. And thanks, by the way, this is super fun. Like to be like, oh well. Let's actually just do that. Let's actually just talk about it. But
right.
We wanted to have a wall of all the things that we wanted to.
Yeah, which is an awesome idea, and I don't know why we didn't think about it. I think Hobby
you literally shot it down like before this podcast.
I don't want to whiteboard.
Like, I have the thing.
I don't want to whiteboard.
I'm just not gonna do it.
I'm gonna put a glass.
He doesn't
board
find
up.
the whiteboard aesthetically pleasing.
No, it's not.
Right. It doesn't cost $750 from whiteboardhoarder.com.
You should get a blackboard.
murdered out
blackboard.
Murdered out, right?
Yeah, that would work.
Yeah, we gotta have a blackboard with black chalk.
Yes.
because that fits the aesthetic of the room.
Because I know a guy who will sell you a murdered out blackboard for $400. No. I'll cut you. I mean, this person will cut you a deal, only $350.
Thank you.
But it's a limited release. There's only one.
Right.
You have to log on at midnight to do it.
That gets
this
me.
is why I don't have
Gets me
story
every
rolls
time.
because I can't like.
Gets me every time.
All my organization goes into other shit like laundry and food. Like I can't like any company that has like a drop or whatever. I'm just like, I can't do this. I don't. Yeah.
No, I'm growing. I feel like I'm growing, and I'm like, okay, I don't need to do this anymore. I don't need these one of a kinds and all this fun stuff.
No, I mean, like, look, if you want to, like, do you? Like, we'll roast you on air for it.
Of course.
But, like, but do you? Yeah.
I'm going to do me. Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
but there's
because when you
limitations
step
to
on
me.
the mat, it's not like I'm just like, fuck, he looks fly as hell. Like, it's just like, when you come in with that, like, super white, like, show, because I know when the shoyo drops, like, happen because of Instagram, and I see, like, you've copped one, I'm just like, that does look fresh. And then I like bite like my cuticles. I'm gonna get some fucking blood on that piece of shit. Rub my stinky unwashed belt on there.
Aesthetically, I love the white gi. Like, there's just something so beautifully traditional about it.
Of course.
But every single time I wear my white gi, I immediately get bled upon. Like, I check my gis, the blue, the black. I check all of them, and I'm like, there's no blood on this. Like, it's not just the color. For sure, the blue one would discolor if there were blood all over it. I know.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers, wait until I'm wearing that white gi.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Just specifically.
Speaking of gi and or blood, I got a little black eye this week.
Yeah, I see
which
that.
is pretty funny because I'm in my second week of a new job, and so I definitely like I don't know. I kind of roll out of bed in the morning and go to work. I didn't realize I had a black eye, but I also like now know all my coworkers are like.
He's in Fight Club.
Yeah, exactly. Like what's with like I also know now they're all polite enough to won't be like, bro, what's up with your face? So we'll see how long that lasts. Because then we're gonna have to explain it like I did. You mean like karate? Yeah, like karate. Actually,
Like Cobra Kai.
Aren't you
Cobra
from
Kai
Brazil?
too?
Yeah, that's right. I speak Spanish. Let me teach you, or let me teach you some Portuguese. Buenos dias.
There you go.
There you go. It's a long game troll.
Oh my God! Are you active on Twitter and all that stuff? Where you troll a lot of people or no?
Oh no, I don't have. No, I don't do that.
You're not
no.
on, like,
He's alive.
Well, no, I don't. I
live
am
trolls people?
very online. I take like 20-minute poops because I've got so many different things I need to check. But like, I don't troll people online.
Are you saying that because you really don't, or you're just saying that just to be.
No, I just like I don't. No, I don't. Like I like to troll people in person. I like to troll people like while I'm rolling in them.
Old school trolling.
Yeah, so like
that's
next
fine.
time we roll, like I'm gonna get you an X. I'm gonna pull your collar down so your ear's down by my face, and I'm just gonna whisper, "X, go and give it to me."
Goals.
Yeah, it's goals. And then you're gonna be like, dude, we're in the locker room. Please fucking stop doing this.
You're creeping me out. And can you put some underwear on, please?
And Andre's gonna stick his head in and be like, take the back. I'll teach you that next week. You're not good at that yet.
Oh my god, it's gonna be weird when Gabriel leaves because he's such a good instructor and it's fun to roll with. It just changes the dynamic at the gym. At LCCT, do you guys bring in people from Brazil and instructors, friends, and stuff like that?
We've had other black belts come in
for long periods of time and stuff
You
like
didn't
that.
ask your black belt. Someone from Brazil.
Oh, just any random
Yeah.
Brazilian?
No, yeah, it's got to be
Sorry.
a real Brazilian.
Other Brazilian black belts have come in periodically.
We call them real black belts. But
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that a reference to the Brazilian form of currency?
Real is actually the Brazilian word for royal, real. So that's what I meant. I was making a pun there. I actually wasn't. I just reversed that.
But it does work very well,
Yeah.
and going forward, you will.
Yeah, my mic hasn't been on the whole time, has it?
Do these black belts wear a white bar or do they have the?
Oh, God, are we gonna talk
red
about this
bar?
again?
I mean, we talked about this off air.
Did we talk about this?
Yeah, we did.
I've never seen someone come in with a white bar.
Right.
That's a very, to my perceptions at least, that's a very new thing. I think.
I don't know.
I think this is the same way that the white belt was. You'd get a white belt, and over the years of battle, it would become a black belt. You start with the white bar, and you get enough blood on it, it turns into a red bar. Mm-hmm. It's the same in that both of those legends are false, but it's,
Right.
yeah,
Exactly.
true enough.
True enough. I mean, I didn't. It wasn't it that someone taped up their white bar for some tournament
so
or something
I'm
like that?
going to mess up who it actually
created
was.
the trend.
But if I remember correctly,
There's some
think it
dork
was-
right now that's screaming. He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"It was
because
blah."
I thought it was Augusto Mendes. Okay, if I recall correctly, he went to Japan, got a black belt, like an honorary black belt with his name embroidered on it. It was beautifully done and everything. And he wore it to like some major IBJJF tournament, and they're like, "Bro, you can't have that." And he's like, "Why not? This is my black belt. It was a gift from Japan." They're like, "Yeah, it doesn't have a bar on it. It's not a real black belt."
Well, it's good to know that happens to him,
To, like,
too,
really
whoever it
important
was, because
people.
I've had to go buy a purple belt because mine was all frayed.
Frayed? Yeah,
and they
yeah,
were
yeah.
like, "You can't have that." And I came back and I bought one. He's like, "Well, now it's too short," so I had to like suck in and like
Yeah.
tie this
God.
extremely tight thing, and like this is. Sorry, Americans. This is when I switched to Portuguese, and I was like, "My brother, come on, man!" And he's like, "All right, this is good."
It worked.
It's nice having that option, I
I
guess.
mean, like
Yeah, no.
like I don't want to say that referees are biased, but I often go up to the referees and speak to them in Portuguese for a match. Like
of course you do.
Professor,
Wait.
tudo bem?
So okay,
Yeah,
I need to learn some of that.
these
for
are
sure.
the vital things that we need to know.
Buenos dias.
It's stuff you need to know that you can't get from him. Talk to Andre. But so I had a similar experience. I wasn't allowed to wear my purple belt, so I had to buy one at a tournament. And then preemptively, knowing that my my brown belt was getting frayed, I'm like, I'm going to buy a brown belt ahead of time, and I'm bringing it to comp, and this is now my competition brown belt. Only wear it at comp.
That's why when I get a new belt, I buy 3 of them.
3.
3, yes, 3.
One goes on a wall, or are you just saving it for later if one gets too
No,
ratty?
so because I'm some A's, it depends on the brand. Some A0s are shorter than other
Oh,
A1s, so I'll
okay.
buy 2 A0s and 1 A1,
Okay.
and eventually through washing it, some shrink up. So if I
Right,
need a
right.
tournament, I just throw the A.
See, if you weren't washing all these belts,
You'd be fine.
you'd have the money to buy these $800 geese. You'd basically be making money if you didn't wash your belts.
Basically,
right? Yeah.
yes, that's absolutely true. So going back to the story about
Mendes.
Mendes.
So like I said, I think it's Augusto Mendes. But regardless, so he showed up with his black belt from Japan and everything. They're like, you can't wear that here, and he did not want to go and buy a new black belt and whatnot. So he just grabbed some athletic tape, I guess, and wrapped it and made a white bar out of finger tape.
Sure.
And they're like, okay, it has a bar that's acceptable, which sounds like a crazy story because, like, in my mind, I'm like, really? Like, they accepted tape around the
This
belt?
sounds like a crazy story because I know that there's a page in the IBJJF rulebook that like points to all the places you can have patches, and I assume
Right,
they
right.
do the same thing for like the belt, and it must be like when you tie it, it has to have like that much outside the knot and all this stuff. I feel
So
like
all you need to do next time, if your belt is fraying, whatever color belt you have, buy that color tape and tape that section up. You don't have to buy a whole new belt.
what the fuck are you talking about?
What I'm saying is, if your purple belt is fraying,
What? I'm gonna buy purple tape. Purple tape?
I'm sure they have purple tape.
Wait,
Like,
who
tape
is
your
that?
face.
At the IBJJF?
No. Just
so you
carry
got-
that with you.
Or I
Okay.
could just get a new belt. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying it'd probably be cheaper than a new belt.
So regardless, getting back to the story, assuming true, not 100% sure it is.
Yeah.
Haven't talked to anyone that was like on the ground when it happened. So he taped it up. They allowed him to compete under those circumstances. I think he won. And there's a bunch of pictures of him, like, gold medal, hand raised with this black belt with a white bar. And I think that's what caused the trend.
Because Meow Brothers also have the white bar.
They do have the white bar. Now that you pointed out, I have noticed this. Yeah.
But isn't that recently? Because I swear I've seen them with the red
I think
bar.
that's also. I have seen low. The thing I have seen before this is I have seen lower belts with a red bar, like a purple belt with a red bar. And the thing I'd heard is like, oh, I'm like 2 or 3 times, but I have seen it. And what I've seen is like, oh, this is the instructor bar. This is to
Right.
indicate that I'm an instructor.
Right, and that's actually very old school. Like,
Oh, that's old school?
Yeah. So apparently, oh God, I hope I'm not going to mess this up.
I hope you do. It keeps it spicy.
So the Valencia brothers have a breakdown of like the original belt system from the original Gracie Academy, and there were different bars whether you were a competitor.
Oh, so
like
this
a
is-
competitive
this is
black
throwback.
belt. Yeah. So this goes back years and years. And whether you were a competitor, because you can compete as a black belt, but if you hadn't gone through Elio's like specific course, you couldn't be an instructor. So you had to like pass a bunch of tests and be certified and whatnot. So like you could be, I guess you could be an instructor that wasn't a competitor, or you could be a competitor that wasn't an instructor, and we would signify that by different belts. So yeah, that allegedly, if I'm remembering correctly, is the origin of the difference between the black bar and the red bar. But the white bar is something totally new, and the thing I've seen a lot of people say is basically that same thing where the red and black belt is not like you're just a black belt, don't get me wrong, but like is
The instructor.
yeah, is like, you could be an instructor, or a competitor, whereas the black and white belt I think now is considered
Competitor.
the competitor belt.
And then the
So-
black with red and 2 white is the professor, where you're
Yeah, that's got different meaning to it
the
as
2
well.
white in the ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about any of that stuff yet, so
No, none of us do.
I mean, I love the story about how the actual color belt system in judo came around. Like so the and Javi, correct me or argue with me.
I will jump
attack
in.
me personally if I'm wrong, because we got
Your Wikipedia
we gotta
sources.
generate. You're a bad person. We have to generate some. Yes, sex sells. Wait, no, that's different. Anyway,
let's
so-
not generate that.
Yeah, so like you have to like so they had like Jigoro Kano just had a bunch of students, and like at a certain point he started giving them black belts to just be like I got to remember who the fuck's who here, but like. But that was all it was. It was like white belts and black belts. So far, so good, right?
So far, so good.
And so then he
that's
started traveling the world and spreading judo, and basically he got to like France, and he's like, "Oh, like white people are weak. Like we need to give them like some type of little achievement. We need to give them like cookies along the way because they'll
Right.
get too discouraged because they won't just like train for 6 or 7 years to get your black belt. And so it's basically just like, okay, here's your little toy, like
Right.
you weak person who has no like
so
commitment
judo,
otherwise.
judo belts are same as
sort of.
it's like jiu-jitsu belts.
No.
No, they have different.
So different organizations have different colors. It's not always the same progression.
This is
of
really
colors.
the fashion episode.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
This is good. Yeah.
This is Zito's fault with his blacked murdered out gi.
Murder.
But okay, so there are different organizations that use different color progressions, with black belt being the highest normal belt, white belt being the beginner belt, and pretty much universally brown belt is the belt that comes before black. But then the colors in between there can vary based on what your international governing body and whatnot says.
Okay, that makes sense.
And some people even change it above and beyond that, like they'll add extra middle belts and whatnot.
Did jiu-jitsu add the blue and white belt, or was that just talk?
Wait, the
Officially at it, there
Yeah,
are
officially.
definitely schools that use a blue and white belt as a precursor.
the same
to
way you have
blue
like the
belt.
orange and
I
black
thi-
belt for the kids
Yeah.
ranks.
Yeah, I believe that is the belt color that they use for Gracing combatives too. But I don't know if those are always intimately linked. But I think the only people that I've seen that have done that are affiliated with like Gracie Academy, Torrance, and whatnot. So I think that's what that represents. But I'd have to talk to somebody to clarify.
I want to ask you this about judo. So, like, do you feel? Or, I'm sorry, were you still?
Oh yeah, we'll burn through that real quick. So the idea of using color belts to represent skill level actually is taken from swimming. They didn't use belts. They used like different colored caps, I believe it was.
Okay.
But that's where Kano got the idea for it, allegedly. It was actually not Kano, but some of his students that decided to add additional colors as sort of like a mid-ground, because yes, the original system was basically white belt represents that you're a relative beginner and that you could die doing this. So, let's not
fucking badass.
Yeah. Like, let's not let's not do anything overly dangerous on this guy who doesn't really know what he's doing.
Right.
Black belt was this guy is advanced enough that he should know how to take all of his falls, and he's familiar with most of the basic techniques.
Yeah,
and
the
knows how to
safety
tap.
off. Like, we're gonna.
So like, and I've heard differing stories here from people, but as a general rule, like, the curve to get a black belt in judo in America is way longer than it is in Japan, because in Japan it's just like, oh yeah, you're good enough to not die, so we're going to award you this black belt. You have you have enough experience. So even though some of the greatest black belts in the world are from Japan, there's also some guys that are just like, no, I'm like, I'm a club level guy. I'm okay.
Yeah.
If an international level judoka came over and threw me, I would not die. Because I know how to take my falls. That's a brief summary. There's probably some judo guy who's like just raging at me, but that's the essence of what it really represented. Is like he knows enough that he can now start doing real practice, and that's why that whole concept of the black belt is the beginning of the journey.
Beginning of your ass whooped.
Yeah. That's we're gonna put you in the shed now.
Exactly. I hope you're gonna learn why it's called a break fall.
Right.
But I want to. So I think that's interesting because I want to kind of circle back this other theme we've had here, but like cultural influences. Like, how strong do you feel that Japanese cultural influence is in the judo community, and like, where do you feel like you come up into it, if you're even aware?
Man, that's a weird question, because it really depends on.
You didn't say good. You said weird.
No.
You could have said interesting.
It is an interesting question.
Okay, but you said weird though.
It's weird
that
because
makes me feel weird.
That's okay.
Okay,
I'm fine with that.
All right.
Even within the same city, where people have like tied together lineages and whatnot, which isn't anywhere near as much of a thing as it is in jiu-jitsu, mind you. The way somebody runs a club will kind of determine that a lot more. So, like Tokan, for example, we've had Doug on. He runs a much more traditional judo club with a lot of the cultural elements very important integrated in, versus my coaches who are Irish guys, grew up doing judo at like Cohen's Club and whatnot, come at it from a very competition point of view.
That dude has whipped my ass before.
Yeah, not quite so much into all the bowing and the heavy tradition. It's there, but it's nowhere near as centered.
So there is like these more like American style almost.
I've been to judo clubs where it's totally normal to talk to the head coach and just be like, "Hey Bob, how's it going?"
Yeah.
And I've been to clubs where it's like, "Greetings, sensei. May I have permission to step on the mat?" So like it's going to take all types, and there's no universal guarantee of what you're going to get until you walk into a club. There are certain things that are definitely, in my limited experience, like certain things you generally don't want to do at certain Japanese centric clubs. Like you
double eye poke. That's not.
Well, don't show up in the blue gi.
Okay.
That's strictly used for competition. You don't train in that.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that.
Whereas, like, plenty of American gyms are like, show up with a blue gi and white pants. We don't care. We're just here to train. Judo, in terms of the region that you learn it from, a lot of times,
like region in Japan or region in the U.S.
Region in the world. So,
okay.
So Japanese judo is, as a general rule, very upright, very, very focused on, we call it Ippon judo, where it was like, we really want to throw this guy.
The big clean
Ippon, throw. Yeah. Like you could be winning by multiple wazaris, and it's like, no, we're still going for the kill, because that is the essence of judo.
Yes.
And in other cultures, it's like, I'm winning. I'm going to stall it out and win on points, as it were. and that's okay.
Is this like kind of like Central Asia where they do more wrestling? Are they more? Or do they do that?
Yeah,
differently?
So like Eastern European, Central Asian, a lot more emphasis on, well, in previous years, a lot more emphasis on pickups and leg attacks.
Yeah.
That was very common until those rules changed. France has a ginormous...
Teddy. Oh, that's what you're gonna say. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
France has a really big judo population, like huge. Like I can't accurately say the numbers. It's just nuts.
Yeah.
But and they have, of the European countries, a lot of people say they have the most Japanese style. Brazil obviously has a giant Japanese population.
Yeah.
I actually can't comment as a whole on how their judo is, but I've personally observed that a lot of the best Brazilian practitioners actually incorporate a lot more newaza than other countries.
Which makes sense.
And then, of course, here in the U.S., crazy though it may seem now, even without the influence of jiu-jitsu, like it's generally felt that we as a country are behind the greats, like Japan and whatnot, in terms of our ability to win by throw, but we're ahead of them on newaza. So a lot of our top athletes that have done well, Kayla Harrison, Travis Stevens and whatnot, they're winning on their submissions and pinning.
Yeah.
Javi, have you ever used your judo in IBJJF? Have you ever thrown anyone?
Oh yeah.
You have?
Absolutely. Yeah, that poor bastard in the open weight who probably thought he was going to throw me because I was way tinier than him. Yeah, I don't think he was ready. But for the most part, to be fair, I'm a light feather.
Yeah.
Most guys just want to pull guard right away and get to work. So one of the most important things that I learned, getting into the IBJJF game is my passing absolutely has to be on point. My base has to be on point. I can't get swept, and I can't fail to pass because I'll get called for stalling. So those are skills that I definitely had to develop very rapidly if I wanted to be competitive.
Right.
So yeah, that was kind of a shock. I thought I'm going to go out there, I'm going to get my grips, I'm going to throw a guy, and it's like, oh, he just threw himself.
He just threw himself.
I've never heard point guard described that way, and that hurts. But yeah.
That's
what it
is. Like
you're right.
if you jump guard on me and there's not rules that prevent me from dropping your head into the mat, that's exactly what I'm going to do, which is why guard jumping is, for the most part, only a thing in jiu-jitsu where you're protected.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's pretty much a bad idea. And if you pull guard in almost any context other than jiu-jitsu, like if you just sit,
Sure.
It's like I can just back up and be like, no, stand back
it's a
up.
sport. Yeah, it's sport
or
specific.
if it's MMA, I could potentially kick you in the face.
Right. Right.
You can't do that anymore, I guess. Never mind. That's not valid context. But
Did you see, speaking of throwing fight to win, I just got an email the other day regarding they had some kind of 30-minute thing on Flow Grappling, fight to win.
I got the notification to watch that, but I didn't actually see it.
I tried to watch it twice on two different devices, and it kept freezing up, and the audio was all off. So bizarre.
No, I did not watch it. I did not know there were problems with it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was just, I was like, maybe it's my computer, I'm not loading, I don't know. So I tried it on my iPad when I was going to Monaco's, and it's still the same thing.
Oh, okay, it's audio.
Yeah.
Wait, no, it was you were trying to watch a video on your iPad while driving to Monaco's?
No, I got to class half hour early,
okay.
so I had time.
Though that does definitely sound like a Zito move right there.
I could do that if I wanted to.
So as someone with Brazilian background, what is half an hour early?
Exactly. Right?
Javi almost spit out his water.
Yeah, that was well timed, sir.
Thank you.
Well timed.
Yeah. But no, I thought it was odd that, because I really wanted to see, because there's this whole background behind the Fight to Win 100 in Hawaii. They had that on there, and just so unfortunate the video was off. Because Flo's been putting out some really good content recently.
Yeah, I still have a massive love-hate relationship with him.
You do?
I thought everyone did.
I mean, everyone does. But what's your reason?
Hate with their uptime.
So my reasons are essentially threefold. Okay, one, I think it's really, really expensive for what it is.
Okay.
Okay,
what is it? $200 a year? No, it's not that much.
I actually don't have a. I'm too cheap. I don't have a Flow Grappling.
You just borrow other people's. That's cool.
No, I don't even do that. Honestly, the only I don't even give a shit about Flow Grappling. All I watch is Flow Wrestling because I think that shit's way more interesting.
It is.
I just don't.
It's good stuff.
I just don't care.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think it's relatively expensive for what you're getting. But it's the only game in town. So if that's what you want to watch, unless you're down to pirate everything or borrow someone's account, that's what you have to do.
Right.
Like there's no alternative option to watch the Worlds.
Right.
That is the network now. Two, I don't really like the fact that you pay money for that service and then it's oftentimes unreliable at the most important times.
Yeah.
So I've actually kind of gotten in a habit of watching things after the fact.
Which I tried doing as well recently, but they don't have any, like the world matches aren't even available yet.
What are you talking about? From Worlds, I've watched Mikey's finals match like
I tried
14
looking for
times.
it. I tried looking for it. I couldn't find.
You're just searching wrong. Yeah, no, it's absolutely up there, split up by matches.
I tried to find. This is Thursday. I tried to find Thursday.
I mean, okay.
When did you watch it? Yesterday?
Last week,
No.
Luis was in Brazil.
Yeah.
I was teaching footlocks.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to clarify, I teach footlocks even when he's not in Brazil. But I was teaching footlocks, and I had just taught a technique that Mikey then used to win the Worlds in the finals. And I was like, this is awesome. So I pulled it up, and I showed the whole class, because it's like a 3 minute, it's like a 3 minute clip.
Right.
But it's only like a 12-second match. And I showed the whole class, and like, yeah, we watched it together. I rewound it. I'm like, look at that entry, look at that finish. This is exactly what we were going over. A little bit difference on the pants grip here. Other than that, yeah. So like, I have evidence that all the matches were split up.
I couldn't find. I mean,
were you logged in?
Yeah, I was logged in.
Because you can only watch those matches on Pro.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I was logged in because I was trying to watch the Fight to Win. I'm like, okay, Fight to Win's not working. That whatever they put up.
100%.
So I
like
went
the
to the
day
IBJJF and I just did a search and I was like, I watched Nikki Sullivan's match. Hers shows up there, and then I was looking for the Caiotero's match or Bruno Malfacini.
Every match I looked for, I was able to find so far. So I don't think anything's missing. I could be wrong, but I thought the whole event's there and split up individually.
I would have figured it would
by
be.
match and map.
I was having a hard time finding it. Maybe it's just me.
So okay, we'll check after we go off air to see if it's user error.
It's possible it's user error, but I agree with you. I think they definitely need.
And then
help.
the biggest one that, like, I know this is not my decision per se, but I find it kind of disturbing that I'm paying to be in a tournament. If it's a world level tournament, it's going to be recorded, and that is going to be sold, and I'm suddenly the product in Flow Grappling's catalog. Now, nobody's probably buying Flow Grappling to watch me. I'm not significant in any way. Thank you, sir. I'm not significant in any way, but like the top name athletes are not being compensated in any way, shape, or form from the IBJJF or from Flow Grappling for the fact that they're driving content or they're driving clicks to the site.
That's a very
they're
good point,
providing
Rob.
the entirety of the content.
I never thought about that either. Yeah, that's
Right.
a really good point.
Like that's just that's a backroom deal. Well, okay, it's probably a legitimate
They're
deal,
actually
but
paying to do that.
Right. That's just it. Like Keenan Cornelius, let's say, it has a bajillion guys that want to. Okay, well, not bajillion, but the thousands of guys that want to watch all of his matches, analyze it, whether they want to figure out how to beat him or they want to figure out what he's doing. Okay, you can name a bunch of black belts that are like that. Keenan is not being paid a dime, and in fact has to pay to watch his own damn matches
on Flow.
Right. Like no one's getting a free ride here. Okay,
that's a very good point.
I shouldn't say no one. Maybe some of the top black belts in the world are getting a free ride, but
that's not the point. Like that's small compared to the potential revenue for some of these top guys. And this is something that athletes are starting to complain about, where they're just like I forgot who someone posted a long thing about this last year about like, hey, like the biggest tournament in the world is the IBJJF, like, and that's by numbers, like that's not to shit on any of the other titles people win, but like. He's like, and I make $0 for that, right? And now they throw like some pitifully small amount of like, you get like $10,000 if you win the absolute, absolute black belt title, which is like compared to
right. Yeah. So Buchecha is getting $10,000,
right? But like like Buchecha gets $10,000 every year he decides to show up, and then like. They're like, if you like, they're like, I would like to devote more time, and I'm totally blanking on this athlete's like thing to like athlete's name. I'm sorry to. Do these matches, prepare for IBJJF specific rule sets, but
you know, I can make a couple grand if I win one of these other like, you know, Polaris type things.
Right.
So I'm gonna like I gotta eat, you know, or like
Right.
or if not even eat, like I should be compensated for my talents, and I'm gonna just go where I can be compensated for that.
Yeah, we've created a weird situation, and I say we as the jiu-jitsu community, we've created a weird situation where
We know what you mean when you say we.
no, I'm just sorry, not me personally,
Yeah.
but yeah. So we clearly think that the most prestigious tournament is IBJJF Gi Worlds specifically. Okay, there's others that are the majors,
Yeah,
obviously,
of course.
but Gi Worlds, Adult Gi Worlds is the most important tournament for jiu-jitsu. And then in no-gi, it's actually probably Abu Dhabi, well before
Yeah,
no-gi
for
Worlds. Like no-gi Worlds is nowhere near the same level of prestige. One of those pays a lot, and the other one doesn't really pay much of anything.
Which one pays a lot? Some people might. not know.
Abu Dhabi,
The
yeah.
one sponsored by Oil Sheiks.
Yeah, yeah.
There you go. That's the one. That's the one.
There's I don't have access to the books, but there's got to be a lot of money going into the IBJJF just based on my tournament registration fees. It's it's a bizarre situation where that world championship is seen as so important and so prestigious.
Well, it is.
And it is.
Right.
And like, I'm not saying that that's a false statement. That is absolutely what it's become. But it's not necessarily like the way to make the living because it's not the pro event. I mean, it's almost understandable because
Well, how does this work in judo? Like, can you make a living being on the judo world pro circuit?
what country do you come from?
We covered that.
Okay. Well, no, like that's my question because a judo athlete from a team in an Eastern European country where it's professionally funded,
Right.
Where the difference between you going and winning a world championship gold medal is the difference in what kind of car you're going to be driving the next year and what your salary is and things like that. So like judo in this country is totally on an amateur level. That's actually that's the original intent of things.
Right.
Okay. But regardless of that, like in Japan, there are corporate sponsored teams. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like there are university clubs that are super high level. And in other countries, there's athletes that are paid based on their success in competition.
So they're able to leverage like cultural, like the cultural interest in that.
Right. And bear in mind, like, this is probably changing because we've got more tournaments that are paying cash prizes and whatnot. But bear in mind that is pulling talent that might do other things just because there's an actual clear professional path. And that doesn't just apply to like judo and whatnot, but like in America, like all the top athletes are going for the stuff that pays real money. Like the best of the best athletes are going to go for football, baseball, basketball, whatever. Okay, ball sports mostly. Okay, all the best super athletes are going to show up there. You're not going to see, for the most part, a bunch of super athletes showing up to do jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Yeah, you'll get the occasional exception, but for the most part, those guys that have that kind of athletic talent are going to go do sports that pay real monies.
Or their path to like, and what you see in the jiu-jitsu community is your path to like making any money off of this is really opening your own school.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, what are your paths? So you can release instructional material online, oftentimes behind a paywall, sometimes in the form of DVDs or streaming. You can run a school, which is very
the most
time-consuming
accessible for most people, I think.
and it's probably I don't want to be like it's the easiest path. Don't get me wrong, but it's probably the most steady income source.
Well, I think it's also the easiest, and like I think it is more and like it's not easy, and like you like anyone can do it, but like you have to rent a space, you have to get some tatami, and then I mean like you obviously have to be good at organizing school and learning how to teach and all that stuff. But like I feel like I'm going to put together a digital instructional whatever and like run a website. I feel like that's trickier.
I think it depends on your talents, probably.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think that if whenever you get your black belt and you're at that level where you've really made good connections in your community, meaning all your schools,
Yeah.
then you can create the seminar path and start
Oh, yeah, the
going down. Hey, I'm going to come to your school and do a seminar at $50 a head or whatever,
Right.
and then get yourself some extra cash for
Yeah,
the weekend and start hitting the circuit, basically.
There's a world of difference between like having a school and having an affiliation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's a whole different level of organization, and also a different.
Well, I'm just saying,
different income bracket.
For the circuit though, like say someone like Christian Woodmancy, he's coming in.
Yep.
We're both going to go to his seminar
At Roll Academy,
at
and
Roll
he's also
Academy.
got
When is that?
one at Viana Brothers.
It's on the 21st.
Yeah,
June
Friday,
21st.
I'm gonna be out of
Friday
town.
night,
Yeah, Friday night. It's at Roll Academy.
7 to 9, I believe.
I don't know what time.
Yeah, check it out online.
Yeah, and then he's doing Viana Brothers on Saturday.
Right.
So Christian, he is not like he comes in and he's got a name. He's a fantastic black belt. He's a world class competitor, and he just works that circuit. He's got his own school, and then he comes in and works a circuit.
Brand new school, actually.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, Philly, right?
Yeah. Works a circuit. So, there's outlets like that for people who
Right. The seminar circuit is very much something you can do
for sure. But
But you gotta figure it yourself. Like, the point is, you got whatever you do, you have to figure it out yourself.
Yes.
Like this isn't like a
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you don't, and the occasional athlete is going to get a high level sponsorship.
Yeah.
For the most, a significant number of people are at best like brand ambassador type sponsorships.
Right.
Where it's like,
Significant.
here, have some gear and some shout outs.
Right.
And then you have like the influencer culture, which, is kind of a new thing.
Yeah.
But no, like that's.
That also reminds me of like public figure. I'm a public figure.
Right, but
we're
like
all public figures.
it's funny because Josh Hinger and Keenan Cornelius just did their own
yeah, I saw
first
that
podcast. I listened to the whole thing. Terrible audio. They said they're going to fix it, but the
horrible
content is excellent.
Yeah.
Okay,
because
in
it's
the-
Josh Hinger and Keenan Cornelius.
Yeah. Both
How could it not be
top tier guys?
Good content.
Ragging on each other.
Yeah.
That's great.
Throwing some shade at some guys. Talking
And
about
if they need help,
competition.
I'll explain to them what we have here, mics and setup like that. So
I mean, Keenan's kind of a genius, so I think he's okay.
I think he is. But Josh has been on our podcast. So
yeah, Josh, if you're listening to this, and you're probably not because you're a busy guy, but if you are, we'll gladly
me
send
up.
you any aid you might need.
yeah, because
But,
I would like to listen to that. I mean, I know they're only on YouTube right now, but I can.
No, I think he's
Their goal is
I
to
think he's
get
gonna
everywhere.
have it audio
Yeah.
and spread it all out there.
Yeah.
Regardless, and one of the things they were talking about is you can make money in jiu-jitsu through YouTube videos and Instagram. You have to be able to produce content, which for them obviously is being able to say, hey, I'm a top tier competitor, world champion or otherwise. I've won all this stuff. You've seen my techniques work at the highest level, and you should listen to me because my opinion is valuable.
Right.
I'm way more likely to, no offense to any of my friends who have written jiu-jitsu articles and whatnot, but I'm way more likely to pay attention to an opinion piece from someone like Josh Hinger than no name blue belt from some
of
academy.
course, right. You have clout.
He's got a ton of clout. I know he's going to keep it real. So that has some value on its own. How you monetize that is probably a mystery to a lot of people, but that's another path to something. But for the most part, only recently are we really seeing an opportunity where you can be like, no, actually, all I do is I compete in the sport that I train in nonstop, and that's where I make my money. And
But it's not where you make your money, right? It's like
right.
maybe a couple of these people who can consistently win big tournaments, but by and large, it's like you use your notoriety in that sport as a way to develop related side hustles, which is unique, and I would suspect is probably something that holds jiu-jitsu back in some ways.
Craig Jones won a whole bunch of tournaments that were professional tournaments, and
Right.
probably, let's say he won 10 last year. I don't actually know if that's not. He made, let's say, $10,000.
Yeah.
His last tour of the U.S., he taught like 75 seminars.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's crazy numbers.
Right.
Okay.
And you think
don't know
that's
how
a bad thing?
I think if you have to have a side hustle like related to your sport to kind of make it, I think it holds it back, right? Because
Well, it delegates it to strictly, it's an amateur sport at that point.
yeah, and you're gonna have the people who a preference towards the people who have the financial means to their family usually to support them going through that. Like I think the big the comparison that comes to mind most immediately for me actually is in MMA. It's professional cycling. So like when I was a cyclist, Cycling has its categories in the U.S. world, and I made it to Cat 3, which is it's kind of like being a purple belt in cycling, right?
Okay.
I won hundreds of dollars, like racing my bike, and it was essentially a purple belt. I was not good. I was not special. I didn't win. This is like very much like technically hundreds of dollars, maybe like $250, $300. But you would win swag and nutritional supplements and cash prizes, like racing your bike at the amateur level, just kind of not even at the regional
not quite
level,
Tour de France level,
not quite Tour de France level, right? And
that's the only race I know.
Yeah. And so you can then make it you can't you don't make a lot of money, but you can be a domestic pro and you'll make $25K a year. And you'll live out of a bus and you'll be traveling around the country and the world racing your bike every weekend for 8 months out of the year. But you can kind of live that dream in a way and you have to be in the best 300 athletes. Cyclists in the U.S. to do that. You have a narrow window, but you can do it, right? Whereas if you're one of the top 300 black belts in the U.S., just literally no one gives a shit, right?
Yeah.
And if you get to be at the Tour de France level, even if you're just granted this is going to be the top 300 cyclists in the world at this point, but they all marry supermodels. When you get to that level in that sport,
this is your request for what jiu-jitsu should be?
Well, I mean, I think the economics of it influences it, right? It's not as big in the U.S., of course, but in other countries, it is a sport that you can sustain yourself by doing the sport,
right?
And the economics are weird and they're different. There's a lot of sponsorship and stuff that we kind of don't have. But I wonder, I don't have a strong opinion on this. And it's been a while since I'm in the bike racing world. So maybe things have changed or maybe I'm getting some stuff wrong. But I think that if it is strictly amateur and you have to basically do these side hustles, you're going to people are going to go to MMA, right? Because you can at least make some money doing that a little more easily. Not a lot.
Yeah,
but
it depends on how much you like being punched in the face.
Depends on what. Yeah, you're paying with more than your time. But.
So you were what kind of bike did you have?
What brand of bicycle did I have?
Right.
I mostly raced on Specialized, which is, God, I got my bike stolen in Baltimore one time, and they sent the fucking Keystone cops to get the write up and trying to explain to them that my bike was not a custom bike. It is a brand called Specialized. Was who's on first for 3 minutes.
Oh, you serious?
Yeah, it was just I know what you're saying, but what kind of bike it is? Well, it's a Specialized officer. It's okay, but Specialized what way? No, it's called a Specialized. Okay, but I'm just oh my God, just give me that. I'll write it down for you.
You just pull up their website and this is their brand, this is their logo.
Yeah.
You had it stolen?
Yeah.
What happened?
Bike stolen. That bike just got. How did that bike get? Oh, yeah, that was actually fun. I put it in the backyard behind a fence, and someone jumped the fence in broad daylight, opened the gate, and walked out with it. And my neighbor had watched it. And it was one of those things that's it's so brazen and bizarre.
Yeah.
Couldn't kind of bring himself to stop it.
Well, it's just kind of because it was also a younger guy who did it. He's I thought it was one of your friends. And then kind of by the time I'd processed what's going on,
sure. Right.
Then he's already gone. But I had another bike stolen.
Also in Baltimore?
Also in Baltimore.
Fuck, crime in Baltimore is crazy.
Yeah, I forgot how this one actually got stolen. They might have clipped a lock or something, but they started joyriding it around the neighborhood.
Whoa.
Yeah, and so you notice I used they, the plural. So it was a bright yellow tandem bicycle. So the base, yeah. So basically,
wait. Let's go back to the story where you bought a bright yellow tandem bicycle.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I found something on Craigslist for $60 that was totally rusted. I'm a decent enough bike mechanic. I fixed it up and had this bright yellow tandem bicycle to joyride around on. And then the neighborhood knuckleheads thought it would be good to steal and then ride around that same neighborhood. I mean, literally 45 minutes later, all the community groups got blasted, looking for this bike. They're riding the bike around the neighborhood. The cops pulled them over, and while they're waiting for me to come retrieve the bike, multiple people came by and they were I know whose bike that is. I know that bike is stolen. They're we get it. We know. So yeah.
Oh man, Baltimore cops are pretty good on that. Huh? They go after bikes.
If
you brought that to Chicago, they'd be wait, you want me to go look for a bike?
No. I think it is specifically because normally it's I stole a bike. What does it look like? It's blue. Right. Okay. Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for that, buddy.
Right,
but if it's just if it's
10 feet long and bright yellow, and it's being ridden around the neighborhood that it was stolen like an hour and a half after it was stolen, like, you don't need to send your A team to solve this one.
I would hope not.
Yeah.
I one day when we have like Jiu Jitsu TV, I want somebody to steal Zito's Murdered Out $750 Shilly roll, and for similar circumstances to happen. Like he showed up to an open mat wearing my gi.
Worth significantly more than the bike you stole, by the way.
But you still call the cops. $60. You're calling the cops. You didn't give a fuck.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I was, like
principle
now,
at this point.
now that I'm older, I would have like gone for the renter's insurance and be like, sorry, man, that's a $2,000 replacement cost. I would have made some money on that.
How will I ever find one quite like that?
Exactly.
The emotional value alone.
It was
vintage,
from like
one of a kind,
it was
antique.
from the 70s. It was from Montgomery, Alabama. It still had like the sticker on it. Like, yeah, man, I would have. Yeah,
Cool.
cool.
Lessons were learned.
In Chicago, you ride your bike in Chicago, right?
I read the divvies now. I haven't raced in a while. Actually, I don't own any bikes anymore.
Oh, no?
I got out of that, and like I sold them when I moved, and like here it's just
The weather.
No, it's not the weather.
Okay.
I ride all winter. I have like, it's a great. So I tease Zito for his $700 gis, but like I have given North Face a lot of money to like basically
you warm and alive.
I do not experience cold at any point during the winter. Like no drop of water ever touches me. Like no cold breeze ever directly touches my skin. Like I have like a whole like Arctic explorer like get up I get into.
Yeah, I have this vision of you riding around downtown Chicago.
If you're
in the dead of
imagining
winter.
anything more than my eyes, then you don't have it correct. It's
No,
just
I didn't
like,
even
yeah.
imagine that. I thought you were like straight up like Darth Vader, Iron Man, something. Like full environmental
just
suit.
full just totally bundled up. But like I will. I just like I love like the fact that like maybe because my bikes have been stolen, like it's like you check it in, it goes beep and it's out. Like I've forgotten
have
that
to think
bike
about it ever.
exists.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I've never like it's raining. Like the whole divvy dock can be on fire. I'm just like that's not my problem.
Right. Exactly. Now we have scooters in Chicago.
I just saw
Yeah, I
when I
just
was
saw-
driving over here. They had the
I did too. Like they're orange and
line.
black,
Orange
right?
and black.
No,
you saw the green
there's
and
two
black.
different ones. So you have
They're
this-
doing both now?
They have both here.
So
yeah.
the orange ones are called Spin or something
Spin,
like that.
yeah. And then they have the green and black lime ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard okay, I can't back this up as to whether it's fact or not, but somebody did like a breakdown of like how much those things cost and like how long they have to last for it to like earn back the money
Yeah.
based on like and like the economics do not appear to be working out great.
Yeah, I can't imagine that either. I don't even know. I mean, how aren't people just
Stealing them? They got
I know they
got
have GPS, but I mean,
yes,
the battery's going to have to die eventually.
they do recover them
they
in
gotta,
trees
they have to
and in lakes.
drive around
yeah.
and grab them because
Yeah, exactly
kids are
that.
assholes. I mean, we can't stop kids from spray paint on fucking.
now we're firmly in get off my lawn.
Yeah,
territory.
yeah.
Yes,
definitely.
I'm sorry. So yeah, so then they're going to be taking them and just grabbing them and just doing whatever they're going to do with them.
But I
up
will
a
say riding them
flagpole.
we rode. I had never done one. They had them all over St. Louis the last time I was down there, and we rode them for the first time. I'm like, this is a blast! Like we just kind of took turns jumping on it, riding around. So yeah, like electric scooters are very fun, very fun. I don't know how the business works. It seems like a nightmare.
People look funny riding them. I mean, it's not a cool looking look at all. You kind of look.
It's a step down from like a moped, which is a way
Step up
step.
from a razor scooter.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, it's just you cannot look cool on a scooter at all. It's just not going to happen. You're upright. It's just not like skateboard. It's cool, That's you got some swag.
Zito and his obvious board bias here.
Even
No.
even a bicycle, you kind of look cool
So
on a bicycle.
a bike's cool, but a scooter's not.
Scooter,
I don't know. It's fun though, man. Like
tough.
it's not bad.
It's tough, man. I
Have you
come from a
have you
skateboarding
rid-
background,
Yeah.
man. We looked
Have
at
you
those
ridden one
scooters.
yet?
dude.
You're still doing cool guy shit.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know, man.
I know you got your electric board, so you.
I got my one wheel.
Right.
I love that. That fucking thing's awesome.
Could they rent those?
You should be able to rent it.
That's
you would
probably an
probably
accident,
die.
yeah.
Most people would die on them for
Like
sure.
even the scooter like has got a not steep, but it's got a little learning curve to it.
I'm sure it does, but you're upright. So if
Right.
you hopefully you could just stop and like your
No,
legs
there's-
should be upright. You can't really
Definitely somebody's gone
yourself
head
up.
over heels right over those
You
bars
think
at some
so?
point. I'm
Oh,
sure
yeah.
of it.
There's
I'm
gonna be
sure of
lots
it. I
of
haven't
videos.
seen it, but
And it's not
I'm-
like they're putting segways on every corner. That would be a fucking that would be tragic.
Do you guys want to get any more jiu-jitsu stuff we want to cover? We don't have our whiteboard, so we can't check
We,
stuff off
we
here.
don't, but I know it's getting late. I know
Yeah.
you got to leave relatively. I know. I
Yeah.
thought we had less time than this, but now that
Yeah.
you're able to stay a little longer. But we're not doing any technique today because
none of
I
us
don't
have a
have
dry
any.
gi.
I have no dry gi either.
We can do it in jeans.
No gi, Aikido.
You want to do
This is
something?
my gi.
Yeah, I have a technique show.
Oh, all right. Well, let's go do that.
You're
We're-
like surprised. You're like, what? I didn't know you. Yeah.
He was not surprised. He was simply ill
I
prepared.
was happily surprised. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm down
Yeah.
for you doing some technique. That's cool. All right, so we're good. We're good.
Let's wrap it up here. I guess.
Did you get everything out that you wanted to get out?
I mean, I can always keep going, but like, no.
Of course
I
you
think
can.
people have been listening. If anyone's still, the one person who's still listening at this point,
It's
like,
Paul.
It's
like
Paul.
we
100%
appreciate
it's
you. Yeah,
Paul.
appreciate you, Paul, listening out there.
All right, where can people find you?
So, I mean, I don't really talk about much like jiu-jitsu stuff online, but if you want, I'm AC Viana on Instagram, ACVIANA. I do some DJing on the side, so I mostly post about those gigs. I have a residency at Low Res Brewery in Pilsen. I also have a photography account, AC Viana Photography, if you're into that kind of ish.
Cool.
Yeah, I browsed through that. It's cool stuff. It's not jujitsu.
It's not jiu-jitsu. It's not. Well, there are actually some. If you dig deep, there's
did I
some
not go
jiu-jitsu
far enough?
posts. There's some jiu-jitsu posts. It's jiu-jitsu. It can be aesthetically cool. It's hard though.
Yeah. Is it like the tape with the fingers? Is it anything like that?
I would do that stuff. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's but like it's it's also already been done. So
Yeah,
yeah,
no.
as you
Try to be
indicated.
cool. All right, let's go do some technique.
This was awesome. I like when I moved out to Chicago. I listened to you guys like on the whole like drive out, like going through your old
really?
episodes. So it's pretty cool to be like now like sitting here in the. It was weird when I met you guys in the locker room too, because there was like, hey, I'm like blah blah blah. And I have to be like, oh, I totally don't. No, you are, and I've been listening to you for like the last 11 hours as I drove out here.
Yeah, that is weird, right?
I'm glad you shared that story, though.
yeah.
Oh, that's funny. All right,
Cool.
All right, we'll see you guys. And then shout out to Grappling Rewind podcast, man. Those guys are awesome. I know they're friends of yours.
Yeah.
They give me pointers on all the stuff we screw up in the rules discussions all the time.
God, like Maine knows, like that dude has read so many rule books.
Is he a rule
And
book savant or something? Like,
Oh, he's just, I mean, kind of, yeah. He just read like the rule. He knows all the different rules, and that podcast is so much work. Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
other guy he
Yeah,
does,
seems it.
one of the other,
Yeah.
I mean, he does it with a lot of guys, almost all from Baltimore Jiu, but like Emil, who's one of my close friends. Like I was over there staying at his place, which used to be my old place. So it's very kind of mind bending, but like, he gets up, he's like, hey man, and just like, he's like, you want to watch some jiu-jitsu? And like, he's just got like, he's like, yeah, I've got to watch like 3 hours of Polaris, like kind of, fast forward to get ready for the
Right, right,
podcast. And they do that every week.
Yeah.
They watch everything. It's crazy. Like how much jiu-jitsu those guys consume.
Crazy.
yeah, they have a harder job than we do.
For sure. For sure.
And I respect it.
Yes. All right. All right. We'll see you guys later. Bye.
See ya.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. For more information about Grappler Union Podcast, you could visit us at our website at grapplerunion.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Grappler Union. Please like us on Facebook. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes. And all of our episodes are available on our YouTube channel. Say what?
Be sure to subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe to all that shit. You got to do another take, right?
Oh.